Hello, everyone, and welcome to whatever today is live stream.
はい、ようこそ皆さん。
Hi, how's it going, everyone?
ね
Radclaw, how's it going? Five-Toed
は
Sloth
い、み
Bear
んな
says,
ようこそ。
welcome, welcome, says Yuki. Five-Toed Sloth Bear says, Andy, great video you released on Sunday. Got a fire in my belly back on Satori Reader and caught up on Ringotan. Nice, nice. I'm
Hi.
glad you enjoyed that. Yeah, that was a very random video I came up
私
with.
もね、日々、
うん
なんかそうこのドキドキ感を感じながら、アンディの努力を見守っています。
Yuki says while feeling sort of nervous, she watches me working hard on my little journal thing, my journal entries as well. She's not doing it, but she feels sometimes like she should be doing it. But
そうね、ジャーナルはできないんだけど、
mm.
でも何かやってたら私も何かやります。
She's also doing my little piano thing every 30 minutes, but she's
So-
much more advanced. She did it for
Yeah.
like 12 years when she was in school. Oh,
Hi.
you've been a member for a month. Thank you very much. Happy
ありが
birthday.
とうございます。
Yo, こんばんは。
本当だよね。
おはようございます
前回のだよ、この「いよ」って「いよー」ってやつだよ。
いいよなるほどね。So that was from last time. 大丈夫ですか？
はい。
大丈夫ですよ。おはよう up 22D8. What is the neutral and exact word for but Toki-san? I have no idea.
Toki-san.
I have no idea.
なん
No idea.
だろ
Not sure. Me and my partner just reserved our tickets to Japan for this October. I'm so excited. Woohoo! All right,
う。
Radclaw.
楽し
Hope
み
you
だ
have a great time.
ね。
It's pronounced up to date.
ついにリアルラーメン
up to
タイム
date.
に。
Up to D8. Right, up to date. ついに何？
ついにリアルラーメンのリアルラーメンタームが始まるね。
リアルラーメン何？
ターム
Term?
期間ってことで。
期間ね。そっか。そうだね。始まります。Noise is coming to Japan.
お
At
ー。
least I think that's what he means. At
ど
least
うい
I
うこ
think that's
と
what
な
he
ん
means.
だ
The word but.
?The word, but. トキさん
Still have no idea what we're talking about, but that's okay.
や
Maybe
ばい、
someone can
全然
explain
ちょ
it
っと
to us
キャッチアッ
better.
プできてないもしかして。
We have a local 5K called the Dingus Day to support the local Polish community. Afterwards, you get free pierogies. Wow, okay.
いいなぁ。ちょっと私も絵
I-
描いようかな。
I
フリープロギーに。
I did definitely be in that race. Morning from Australia, going to Japan next week for a month or so. Nice. Just needed to actually practice my listening and speaking skills. All right, that's exciting.
これ
Next week.
フリープロギ
This is a free pierogi. I think that's a. Oh, I thought it was like a dead pelican, but it's actually it's a pigeon
ー。そうだよ、ダブ
eating some grass.
ダブですよ。
Okay, this is a picture from our walk yesterday. We went for a walk and ended up in a little park, and there were pigeons like this eating all the little plants that had.
違う
sprung
よ
up.
違うよ、
Huh?
全然通じてないねこれ。バスキングインダ
Ah,
サー
this
です
is
よこ
its
れ。
wing. Okay, I thought I was just the one basking in the sun. Yeah.
違う
Okay.
よ。
These pigeons like to open up their wings and chill in the sun.
うん、
Basking in the sun, we've got hinatabokko. Hinatabokko means, well, what it says right there, basking in the sun. You'll see
Okay.
cats doing that a lot.
これフリープロギーね。
Yeah, I think the question is, how do you say but in Japanese? Which has a long answer, as someone who just watched an hour or two on this. I mean, there's a couple ways. You can say, if you're in polite tense, so if you're using desmas, then you just do desu ga. So, ikimasu ga, I'm going, but, ikitaku nai desu, I don't want to go, or something like that. If you're in less polite tense, you can use things like kedo, which is exactly the same, but you don't need des before it. So, iku kedo, so I'll go, but. Yeah. Those are the main two. So I don't know how you'd watch an hour or two on those unless you were including things like when and if and all these other things. But that's the quick answer. When you take a walk, look for geocaches. Have found 30 so far. So fun actually. Nice, yeah.
お
The
ー。
first time we did geocaching was probably, what was it? 9 years ago. A friend of mine introduced us to it, and we drove around all over
そうだね。
Nagano looking for them. There was only like 10 in the whole prefecture then, and then I completely forgot about it. Although we did some in New Zealand as well.
うんうん。
But then like a year or two ago, we pulled up the app again when Yuki's mom was visiting, and there was like 20 just around our house.
ねえ。
So we went and found most of those. That was fun. It's not a one-to-one word substitution thing, really. It's multiple grammar points. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know. I guess it really just depends on the shikashi. Desho isn't really but the dakara.
そうだね。
Demo or shikashi.
しかし、
But I mean,
ですが。
desu ga was the one I already covered. But demo and shikashi are only gonna start sentences, so it's a difference between if there's a period at the end or not. Granted, you're not gonna use shikashi in conversation very much. Demo will be quite common, but I asked for but only, but you. Okay. Hopefully that answered. Have done geocache in the Netherlands, my hometown, but not in Japan. Didn't even think about it. Yeah, there's a lot now. It's becoming very popular. I've hidden 7 now. You've hidden 7 now. That's cool. Kind of addicted. I like the one that Dan found, one that was like an old floppy disk drive. It was magnetized under like a shrine, and you pull it out and you pop out the disk, and it's got like stuff written on it. That was cool. Geocaching is an application. It's an app. And basically, let's see if I still have it on here. I think I have it on my phone. What would I have it saved under? Nandaro. I have no idea. Maybe I don't have it anymore.
このアレックスさんさ、ジャーナルやってるよ。偉いよ。
いいね。Gotta go do 15 minutes of reading so I can check my last box for the day in the journal. Nice job, Alex. Keep it up. Yes, that's great.
すごい。
So yeah, if you look at Nagano, basically, if you pull up this app, so here's, I'll zoom in for you. This is Nagano City, and you see all those green dots? Those are geocaches, and if you click on it, it tells you what it is. And then if you click on it, it tells you a little bit more about it and how difficult it is and stuff like that. And basically what it is little hidden caches. And you go look for it using the hints. And basically it'll be something hidden, and there will be like a little notepad or something inside with people's names who had found it, or people's like usernames on the application.
Hi.
And that's it. So it's just got, and maybe some of them might have something little you could take, or things that people have added and things like that. So they're really kind of addicting, because some of them are really, really hard to find and in like really ingenious places, and but some of them are really easy, but it can be fun. Most of them are you can just do for free if you have the app. It used to all be free, but some of them are like special ones that you need like a premium, or some of them are like systematic, like a series. So you'll find like you have to find like 7 different ones to find the true one. Okay, there's been a lot added since we last opened the app. There's like 100. My goodness.
すんご
Look
い
at this.
さ。
It's just Yubo.
あ、私の顔が。
Nagano is just covered in green. Wow.
それいいのか悪いのかよくわからないよね。みんな
I think it's mostly fine.
宝物を隠しまくってるね。
Yeah, people are
だけ
hiding
ど
things all over
教え
the
てん
place.
だよね。マップで教えてんだよね。
Reklo says, I love geocaching. Geocaching in Japan has to be next level. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I think most of the ones we've done here haven't been too hard, but they're quite good. What else? There's so many geocaches in Japan. I was doing it back before it was an app, and you had to look up the coordinates on a website. That's how hipster I am. Wow, okay. I didn't know that was a thing even before the app. That's kind of cool. Do you have a video on what is needed to start your paid course content? I got Genki 1, but want to know what other physical content is recommended. I don't think I have a video on anything you need to get started. If you have Genki, that's pretty much enough. We pretty much have everything covered that you need to do on there. If you haven't done hiragana and katakana yet, you might want to do that on like Tofugu's blog post is good for that. I'm working on a video right now for hiragana and katakana so that you can do all of it on the website. But basically everything you need is there. So nothing physical that you need, although having Anki can be helpful as well. Toki-san, I have the guts feeling that demo derives from desu and the particle mo, meaning in my mother tongue I feel though would be right. Yeah, something like that. I don't know if it derives from those or not. I think it's just a word on its own, but I'm not really sure. I haven't looked up the etymology of it. Hello, is there any resource for Genki on verbs, such as Anki decks? I'm sure there are. I've never used one. Generally, I just put all of my words into one Anki deck. Our Anki deck for N5 is getting closer and closer. We're very close. Makes a lot of...
ちょっとだけリスト見せてあげちゃってもいいんじゃない？
I'll show them the list. Yeah, well, we could, but maybe in a minute. It is not only caches. The very first time I went back in late 90s, it turned out to be the grave of a famous person from an old TV series when I was young. That was in Montana. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. That's pretty neat. I did a nighttime one in the woods that was incredible because it required a flashlight to shine on trees to see little reflective buttons they stuck under the trees to help guide you. Wow, some people get super creative. That's pretty neat. Kind of random. I've noticed in Japanese cooking videos, the fin is often left on the mackerel.
フィンって何ですか？
なんて言うんだろう。If we pull up the... Sorry, we're going to erase part of Yuki's picture. We're going to go... Bye-bye, hatto.
はい。
すいません. If you have a fish, I'm going to draw a terrible fish here. Oh, you've already got it?
わかった。フィンわかった。ヒレだ。こういうところとか、こういうところとか。
こういうところ。
そう、こういうところだよね。
そう。They've noticed that on mackerel.
はいはい、マカロンわかるよ。
That they often leave on the fin. Look at my beautiful picture. So nice. I'm going to get rid of that. Is that part usually eaten, they asked. どうですか, Yuki? Is it rude not to eat it? Ooh, that's a good question. はい。
フィンを食べるかどうかってこと、焼いてあったらってこと？それはディッシュで焼いてあったらかな。
I mean, there's lots of different things you could cook. I don't think anyone's eaten... Nobody's eating the fin raw, that's for sure. But the fin won't be left on if it's raw sashimi, so...
食べなくてもいい。全然食べなくても OK.
It's okay not to eat it. It is not rude.
普通は食べないことが多いかな。
I think most of the time people don't eat the fins.
そう、骨が結構あるからね。だけど、なんか、そういうフィンの超カリカリに揚げてるおせんべいとかだったら、そのまま食べれるやつですね。
If it's super like a crispy fried or like tempura or something like that, there's not much tempura fish, but like deep fried.
そうなんかもうせんべいみたいな感じ。
Almost like a senbei, like a cracker. Then you can eat it. It's fine. Yeah. So deep fried, it's usually people will eat it, but it's not rude if you don't. It's fine. 岩国って場所？岩国は岩国？
山口県から広島湾なんだ。山口県？岩国って山口県のこと？
岩国に行ったことがあったらおすすめのところは何ですか？
やばい、全然わかんないよ。山口県って何があるの？
Unfortunately, I've never been there. We were down in Hiroshima Prefecture recently, but that's not... I don't think that's in the area you're talking about. It's pretty cool. We went to Onomichi, which is near Hiroshima, and then we rode bikes across like 7 bridges over to Shikoku, which was the island over there, and then did a lot over there. But that's probably not in your itinerary if you're going to that area. I think there's a video on setting up Anki, but I haven't gotten to it yet, but I think Anki has pre-made card decks. Yes, it does. Setting for the N4 at the moment. If I pass in July, I'll be sending you to a thank you card. Oh, thank you. Good luck. I hope you do well.
ね、頑張ってください。
Oh, Come to Japan Dan said, go to the Kintaikyo Bridge in Iwankuni. Okay. I'm learning hiragana and katakana, but a lot of times I can read it, but have no idea what it means. Any advice with studying? I mean, at that point, it's time to start learning words, I guess. You can use flashcards, apps like Anki, things like that, to learn words. Yeah, you're not going to have any idea what things mean for a very, very long time. Hato-san, ja ne. See you later, Pollux. Toki-san, apart from...
違うよ、ハトさんにじゃあねって言ってんでしょ。
そういうことか. Because I erased it, right? Let me put on the timestamps here so I know when people are talking. Live chat on. Timestamps. There we go. Okay. So I'm falling behind a bit. Apart from work, so Yuki and I never worked together until we started doing this channel. So, but we've had a lot of memorable moments. We've taken lots of road trips. We lived in New Zealand for a while, for a year together. We did a road trip from Los Angeles over to New York, down or across the south of America, United States. That was fun. Lots of different things we've had fun with together. Do you have any recommendations around 下北沢、東京? はい、Yuki.
下北沢か。全然わかんないんですけど、カフェとかかなって。
She said cafes.
あと、used clothes shop ですよね。
Used clothes shops are very popular.
下北沢って。
Interesting.
最近はなんかシシャバーが多分流行ってるはず。
Shisha bars are also popular apparently around there. Interesting. Yeah, we're not very good at like specific
ごめんね、
locations.
下北沢ね、ちょっとね、おしゃれタウンだよね。
It's a very, very fancy town. Very, not
ファッ
fancy.
ショナブル、なんかスタイリッシュ、だけどチープみたいな。
Ah, stylish but cheap.
学生がそのなんていうの、ユースト
It's popular
なんかセカ
among
ンド、
students
そうそうそうそう。
for secondhand stuff. Interesting. Thank you. Hey, thanks. My next step would be forcing myself into Japanese speaking, VR worlds, and language exchange. You can definitely do that. It's going to be very, very hard if without words. So it's probably a good idea to learn some of those first. But yeah. When you met Yuki, how was your Japanese? When I met Yuki, how was my Japanese?
あ、もう、いいんじゃないですか？
いいんじゃないですかってひらがなのビデオに聞こえるんだけど、もうちょっと具体的によろしくお願いします。
私を言葉を使わなければいけないね。
そう言葉を使ってください。
で、文法もですね、かなり上手に使われていますし、
今じゃないよ。会った時。
会った時？
会った時。
会った時？
はい。
まあ、good
もうちょっと具体的に言葉を使ってもらえますかね。
受け身系とかね、下手くそだったね、多分。
受け身系？
パッシブフォームとか、あとコーゼティブとか下手くそ。
だった。Okay. So she said good. My Japanese is good when we first met 9 years ago, but I was not very good at the passive or the causative at the time.
そう、あとね、ボキャブラリーは少なかったですね。
And my vocabulary was much weaker than it was now.
非常に少なかったと思います。
Very, very weak at the time. Okay. So yeah, 9 years ago, my vocabulary was weak and my passive causative was weak. But I think we mostly only spoke Japanese still.
そうだね。
Once you start committing words to memory, you will be surprised at how easy you recognize them. Yes, so I'm just starting my self-learning journey. I've been learning hiragana. I have the Genki books now. Can I jump into these or is there other things I should do first? No, that's fine. Jump on in. Just afraid the conversation stops fast due to lack of knowledge of words. Yeah, that'll happen. It will. I went from no conversational ability to conversational through immersing for hours every day on VR chat, though I did have an intermediate level vocabulary base when I started that. Yeah, if you have a base like that, it'll help a lot. I had some meetups in VR with Japanese peeps, but it was more speaking in body language. Okay. It's cool that you can do that. That's neat.
そうだね。
Mellow ZVR, I was in the same case. Like, the thing is, you have to be consistent, think yourself after lesson time, and connect the sentences until you have the right sentence pattern. Yep. It took me a year of watching nothing but anime and listening to nothing but Japanese music just to start hearing the space between words. Before that, it all just sounded like one long word. Hey, this is a comment I made on your last comment, my last video maybe, and I would really want you to read it. If it is no bother, here it is. Says Thomas. Welcome to the stream, Thomas. I'm almost ready for lesson 5 of Genki. Woohoo! Is that passive causative thing a common issue with beginners? I'm almost halfway through Genki 2. Is it possible that this is the first time hearing about it?
パッシブとコーゼティブはN4 ですよね。
So yeah, so it's in Genki. It's later in Genki 2.
そうそう。Genki 2だと、そう、21でパッシブが出て、
Lesson 21 is where passive pops up.
22でコーゼティブが出る。
And causative is in 22. Yeah.
はず。
Yeah, it's sort of
20かな。ミスってるかな。
It's very how should I put it? It's not very intuitive to native English speakers. The causative and the passive in Japanese because it's used a bit differently. So it's hard to get used to. Getting a lot of exposure can help. Hearing a lot of other people use it and stuff. And I hadn't been around it too much, I guess, when I met Yuki, or I hadn't at least used it much. So I tended to mix them up quite a bit. Despite needing to use the causative, I did use the causative a lot. I think I just mixed them up a lot back then. Konbanwa, everyone. I'm late, but don't have to multitask work while I listen this time. Welcome to the stream, Kaylee. Good to see you.
ありがとうございます。
Ever thought of going on an adventure around Japan, but with a bod cam to give people a first-person perspective on how it's like going around, but at the same time give us a lesson? I have considered doing more travel content. In fact, this channel was supposed to be that originally before we switched to Japanese teaching. But I don't like vlogging. I don't enjoy it. The reason is when you have a camera, I don't know how many of you have ever tried to vlog, whether it's just with a body cam or whatever. I guess a body cam would be okay. It would be less, this would be less of an issue. But when you try to vlog, no matter what it looks like when you're watching vloggers, you're not actually in the situation. All you're thinking about is the camera, getting the good shot, and getting interesting content, and you're viewing the world through the camera. So when you're done with the whatever you've participated in on the vlog, no matter what it looks like, you don't feel like you were actually there. So it always felt like I was like that extra. There's like this film over reality, and I feel like I missed the whole situation. I'm not actually involved with the people there, with the situation. So it takes all of the fun out of whatever it is you're doing. So I've considered, like we were talking about doing like a van life in Japan channel. We were gonna do that. We were gonna get a van, DIY it out, and then drive around Japan. And then just edit the videos on the go while we kept up ToKini Andy. But I was thinking about that, like every day, having to film every day, our whole life. It would be like a year lost of our life because we'd just be filming constantly. And it would be fun to watch, but it would be exhausting. And it would take away like the fun thing about road trips is going to new places and experiencing new things and seeing new things. But if you're filming it, you don't actually feel like you did any of those things. I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't really enjoy it. So no, I'll probably never end up doing that. How do you feel about that, Yuki?
いやーなんかね多分アンディはそのアンディのさその性格的にさ、もっとプライバシーが欲しいって感じじゃないですか。
She feels like in my personality, I feel like I want more privacy. Maybe, sort of.
なんか全部の生活を出して全部のことを仕事にするのは結構難しいってことでしょ？
More so than privacy, yeah. She's saying like, I don't really want to take my whole life and make it work. Because for someone who vlogs their whole life, that's all day, every day is work. Because no matter what it seems like to the viewer, making a video is work in the end. It feels the same in the end as work for anyone else because you have to be constantly on. And like, I don't know if you guys have watched any Casey Neistat, but when he did the full year of vlogging every single day, he talks about how like all that was in his mind was the vlog and like getting the right shots and editing and it just isn't appealing to me. As much as I wanted it to be in the past, I realized that I didn't actually enjoy it. I use language exchange or translators, and there are many Japanese people that I talk to that are the same. It's helping me pick up kanji I'd actually use. I've been studying for about a month. Nice. Does N5 sync with Genki 1? It's close. And does N4 sync with Genki 2? It's also close. But they mix up some parts. Like Genki 1 has some N4 parts, and N4 and Genki 2 has some N4 parts, and they don't cover everything, and certainly not all the vocabulary you need. But if you understood everything in all the Genkis, you could probably pass the test. Where was that? A person mentioned earlier, they were saying, I really want you to read this comment. Thomas. Did you ever end up posting that? Oh, sorry, it's quite long, so I can't send the entire message. Anyway, this is a question I would like you to answer. There's a lot of comments on that video, and I have like a personal policy on videos, just because otherwise I'll lose all my time. I only answer comments on new videos for the first day. So the first day I try to answer every single comment. I try, but sometimes I can't because there's a lot. And after that, I don't answer any. I don't even really look. I try to read them all, but I can't answer them all. And if one pops up in my notifications, and it's like something I read really quick and I feel like I can answer it quickly, I do. But we answer the questions on our website in detail every day. Every morning we're answering questions. It takes an hour or two every day for us just to answer the comments on our website for students who are paying for our course. So we have to focus on that. And then the YouTube, if we also answered all the comments on the YouTube, that would be our life. Like, we wouldn't have time to make videos. We wouldn't have time to make content. It would just be comments. And that would defeat the purpose, I guess. So we don't answer all the questions. So if you do have the question, if you could find a way to like shorten it, it would be best to ask here, because I won't be able to go back and likely find it, because that video did quite well, actually. Hopefully that makes sense. Using the ToKini NDN5 kanji deck, should I take notes on it? And how should I do that if so? Or should I just go through the deck? I would just go through the deck, and I would write each of the kanji each time it pops up in reviews. That's all. Would you recommend watching baby videos to learn Japanese? どう思いますか? 赤ちゃんに向けて。
ベイビービデオか。何見てたっけ？私の姪っ子。
I don't remember. She's trying to remember what our niece watches.
何見てるんだろう。
I don't recommend it. I don't know what she thinks. You probably haven't watched many kids like baby videos. For one reason in particular. Baby Japanese and adult Japanese, just like in English, is very, very different. There's a lot of words that you'll use with a baby that you won't use with an adult. For example, if a kid is going to sleep, you might say things to them like nene. To go to sleep. Nene suru, or something like that. Which means to go to sleep. Nene is a shortened version of neru, to sleep. But if you say that to an adult, mo nene shimasu って言ったら, if you said that, people would laugh quite a bit. They think it was cute, but
なんかね、ねんねってね、英語のね、ないないって感じだよね。
No, it's less than that. It's even worse. It's more
そうな
like
の？
it's time for Betty Pie or something like that. I feel is like what it would be like.
そんなに？
Night night is like good night. おやすみ。
まあそうだね。
ね night night. Yeah, so nene would be like saying, I'm going to Betty Pie, if you were to say that as an adult to your coworker. Yesterday, when I went to Betty Pie, I couldn't fall asleep or something if you said that. So yeah, I don't recommend watching baby videos to learn Japanese, because you're going to end up with some weird Japanese. Okay.
まあそうだね。お子さんに見せたいんじゃないのかな、その自分の。
Yeah, if you want to show it to babies, that's great. But I don't think that's what its trails is talking about. I think they're talking about watching it themselves because they're thinking it will be easier Japanese. But in the alternative, I don't think it will be. Anyone have been in Japan with the Golden Week, by the way? Yeah, Golden Week is not a great time to travel here because everyone is traveling in Japan, Japanese people. So it's just everything is packed. I don't recommend it. Same with Obon. Is your course a good way to start learning Japanese? I'm interested in joining it, but I don't know how much Japanese, so I don't know if it's appropriate for me. If I answer that, if someone in chat wants to answer that question for Thomas, that would be good, because I'm the creator of it. So obviously I think it's a good way to start learning Japanese, because that's why I made it. My whole goal with the YouTube channel and the website is, when I was learning Japanese, it's what I wish I had. So that's why I make everything that I make. It's like, I think this would have been useful when I was learning Japanese, so I'm going to make that. So obviously I think that, but I'm not a learner anymore at that level. So really it would be best that for people who are actually using it to answer your question. Some people don't find it nice, but a lot of people do. So we'll see if anyone can answer that for you in chat. I love winter because someone was asking which seasons do we like. 一番好きな季節は何ですかって。
秋かな。
秋She's gonna say spring, but then she said fall? Really?
だってさ、秋の方が食べ物がたくさんあるし。
Fall, there's a lot of good food.
そう。
It's very Japanese.
春はすごいなんかその気候がいいじゃないですか。
Helicopter. The weather's good.
天気がね、そういいじゃないですか。だけど食べるものがさ少ないよね。
Yeah, there's not very much to eat. Fresh stuff. Yeah, it's a good point.
そう。
I thought you would like summer because you like warm weather.
まあね。
But I guess the food makes sense. Yeah. I also have a I'm sort of, what do you put it? Conflicted between spring and fall. I love the weather of both, but for different reasons. I think I prefer spring because you just come out of that winter and like the days keep getting nicer and longer. And it's like you can go for a walk after dinner at 6:30 or 7 p.m. and you can still see outside. I love that. So I think I prefer spring. But I do find Aki or fall very very nice as well. Just wanted to say your recent video really pushed me to want to get back into studying after dropping out of my university program. Then more fun approach. You have vibes with my ADHD. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed that video. Yeah, it was a very spur of the moment video. I always laugh because YouTube's weird. And the videos that I put a lot of effort in and think hard about, they don't do well right away. Eventually, they do end up doing okay. But the ones that I'm just like, hey, this has been really helpful. I think I'll throw a quick video up about this. That video took me 30 minutes to write. Yuki was practicing piano. I wrote it in 30 minutes. I edited it, obviously, the next day. So maybe an hour in total. It took me the 15 minutes to film it. And then it took me 3 hours to edit it. So, like, in total, that video took 5 hours, which might sound like a lot to some of you, but that's, like, so short. Most of our videos take, like, 20 hours in total, at least, to make. And those are always the videos that do amazing in the beginning. It's hysterical. YouTube's so funny. Hey, Andy, so excited to be here. I wanted to see if I could ask you a question, if that's all right. Of course you can. Do you recommend learning hiragana and katakana before practicing the Genki book in your site? Yes, definitely. One of the first posts on our website is learn hiragana, katakana. We have some links on there. Or I did a video on it of Start Japanese Here, I think. It's on the website, or it's on the YouTube in the beginner Japanese playlist, where I give you some tips on where you can learn hiragana, katakana. We are working on a video for our own channel and for the website now, which is going to be about 3 to 5 hours long. I'm not sure exactly yet. I just finished writing it yesterday. It's 42 pages on learning hiragana and katakana and all of the Japanese phonetics. It's going to be like an expansive overall video. Hi. So, but I don't know if that'll be ready for you in time. But that should be helpful. That'd be cool, though. I'm embracing my inner schizo by trying out your diary. Okay, nice. I hope it's helpful. I already answered that question. Okay, we're way behind on chat. Way behind. I'm going to skip down to the bottom if I miss your question. I'm sorry. How's your piano journey going? If I miss your question, pop it back in chat now and we'll try and catch up. Piano's great. I'm enjoying it. I'm using an app called Simply Piano and playing some stuff with Yuki as well, which has been fun. I've played drums for like 25 years, so I think that helps a lot because I already can do things with different hands at the same time, so that's a huge advantage. But the app has been very useful. So I do 30 minutes to an hour a day, and I like it.
Oh, Katie-san, ありがとうございます.
Andrew, what's your Japanese level? I have no idea. I passed N1, so I'm beyond that. I don't even know how you'd categorize it after that. I'd say I'm fluent. Would that be accurate? Am I fluent in Japanese?
まあ、fluent ですよね。
まあ、fluent ですね、yes.
Fluency レベルでいくと結構高いと思う。
She said if we're going by fluency level, it's pretty high, she says. I could work on pitch accent, probably.
でもね、ピッチアクセント結構いいと思うんですよ。
She says it's also quite good, but that's like the one thing I think I could work on. Andy, are you and Yuki psychic? My vegetarian sister's birthday was yesterday, and the vocabulary word on your day calendar was tofu. Maybe. I don't know.
すごいね。私やったね。私がサイキックだったね。
Maybe, yeah. Yuki was psychic because she picked the words. David Ruiz says, I remember watching these live streams late at night on Wednesdays in the U.S. Now I'm watching from Japan, and it's 10:30 in the morning. Thanks for the help getting me here. Welcome, David Ruiz. I'm glad you're here, and I hope you're enjoying it. Ronzi says, how are gyms in Japan? Ooh, good question. They used to be terrible. Like, really bad. The first gym I ever went to, I was in a little city called Suzaka, just outside of Nagano. It's like a bedroom town. And there was one gym, and it had a pool, which was nice. But the gym part, there was like one bench, but it only had up to maybe like 40 kilograms, 50 kilograms. And it was old. There was no pull-up bar. There was dumbbells up to like 15 kilograms, maybe. And that was it. There was nothing else. that was the gym. And then there was like 30 treadmills. So gyms in Japan used to be like 4 machines, a couple dumbbells and one bench, and then 30 treadmills. But ever since the Rugby World Cup, ever since then, a little bit like bigger physiques have become a little more popular. So bodybuilding has become a thing here, and it was not before.
そうだね。
So ever since the Rugby World Cup, gyms have
そうだ。
been getting better and better and better. So
それが
now
トリガーだったんだね。
that was the trigger.
多分。
That was the change. Like I saw it because I was here during the World Cup, and everyone was just running, and there'd be like 3 older guys who would do the exact same exercises. They'd put like 100 pounds on the machine, and then they'd do this on the machine. And they do that every day, and they didn't change for 2 years. And then Rugby World Cup, and then immediately dudes start getting just jacked. Like I was the biggest person. I was way bigger than I am now, like 8 years ago. But I was the biggest person in the gym, which is not that big, for years. And then suddenly, they discovered steroids. Just for curiosity, which do you think is the most efficient method to remember tons and tons of Japanese words? I'm quite good at practicing them, but when it comes to memorization, sometimes I struggle. That is very dependent on the person. Some people are really good with like memorization techniques, like word maps, things like that. Some people are good at just brute forcing, just writing words over and over again. Some people, like myself, do really well with Anki. So I like to use flashcards, spaced repetition. And I use mnemonics for words that I have a hard time remembering, so I'll create like a mnemonic. Yuki, how do you find best for memorizing?
私はもう書くしかやったことないので。
She's only ever written, and she uses those books in Japan where they have like a red sheet of film, and you place it over the words in the book, and it hides the meaning. It just says the Japanese, and then it just goes through a bunch of those. That's like the Japanese style.
そう、単語帳っていうやつを見る。
So looking at
で
the
も
book.
あれは多分見て本当はね書く、でそのなんか例文があるのを言ってみたり、
trying to say the example sentences, things like
練習
that.
をした方がいいと思うんですけど、
Okay.
そう見る書く。
Okay. All right, I have a question. I'm going to drop a poll in chat, guys. So spatial. Okay. How do you spell spatial? I don't know how to spell spatial. There it is. It says T. Okay. So I guess there's like 3 types of thinkers. People who think in visual thinkers. So people who see in images in their minds. People who think in words. And people who think spatially. So like in diagrams and things like that. And of course there's like, it's a, what do you call it? There's a spectrum on that. There's not just visual thinkers who have never thought in words, and there's not just like people who think in words aren't incapable of seeing an image in their minds. But generally speaking, people are more one than the other. So for example, I think in words. I think in sentences. I can see images if I want to. Spatial thinking for me is very difficult. So thinking in like diagrams. First this, then comes this. Yuki is very, very much a visual thinker. So she has a hard time thinking in words, etc. I'm going to drop a poll, and I want you to tell me what kind of thinker you are, whether you see things visually in images, like or in words. Wow, chat just disappeared when I say, okay, the poll's up. So the reason I'm asking this question is I think, depending on where you are on this spectrum, what will work best for you for memorization will be different. I think.
まあそっか、そうなんだね。
I think people who are visual thinkers are going to be better at just like seeing a word and then they remember it. People who are word oriented, like myself, I find now that I'm able to read a bit more, like a lot more Japanese, obviously, using a native Japanese dictionary and reading the definition of a word and seeing it in context in sentences is very, very helpful. That's what works best for me. I don't think that would work great for Yuki.
そうまあ私がね、ワードの方で
Reading a definition, I don't know that would help you
難しいん
much.
ですよ。
Right. So I think for a person like Yuki, something like I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a word town. So basically you have a town in your mind, a visual town, and you map words all over the town. I don't remember exactly how you do it, but there's lots of videos on YouTube you can look at. So things like that can help you memorize. Like people can memorize the order of a card deck using the word town method. I can't remember exactly how you do it. But anyway, I think memorization techniques like that can be very useful for visual learners. Spatial learners, I have no idea because that's not a way I can think. But I think it's important to think about like what kind of thinker you are and then try and tailor your memorization method for that. Miss Estudiando says, for English and Spanish, I'm visual, but Japanese, I think of the kanji for words. Interesting. That's wild, says DSJ Lime Time. I think I watched a video that kind of disproved the whole concept of learner type. Yet, learner type, yes. Apparently, everyone can learn the same way. But thinking type, I think, has not been disproven. Like some people are definitely visual thinkers. Some people are word thinkers. And I do think for memorization specifically, especially short term, I think there are different ways you could go about like the short-term part. Because the important part with memorization is there's two steps to it, right? There's the short-term memorization, and then there's the long-term memorization. And those are different mechanisms. And the long-term memorization, you need to remember things over and over again, multiple times. For it to stick long-term, right? You need to encounter it many, many times, and then eventually it sticks long-term. But the first step in that is when you see it the second time, remembering what it is. And that's short-term memory. So the thing with the visual thinkers and the people who think in words, the trick there is to figure out what is the best way for you to remember it the next day. That first time within short-term memory. And the whole word maps or, just Anki cards, whatever, mnemonics work great for me. That's not going to help you with long-term memorization, but it helps you with the short-term memorization, which eventually will lead to long-term memorization. So it's more of a way of tricking your mind into remembering things the next day. So I think that's important. Happy Bell says, I have to encounter the word about 3 times for it to stick into my long-term memory. Once again, I'm not a scientist. I've never done research on any of this. So take my words with a grain of salt in this situation. If all of that's been disproven, it is what it is. But in my experience, that has been what has helped. The thing I found is the best way to learn is to combine 2 of the types. Retention is much higher when doing alongside, whatever other type you use, auditory, visual, etc. Yes. Writing things down can be helpful, like with a pen and paper. People love to use apps nowadays because they're very convenient and you can carry it around with you on your phone, and I understand that. And I did that for a long time. But it turns out physically writing things down really, really, really helps with memorization short-term and long-term. So even though it takes a little bit longer, like writing down a kanji when you learn it can help it stick better. And that's been proven over and over again. So when you assemble something, look at pictures, not the directions. No pictures, the thing looks lopsided. I would say speak as much as you can. Don't just look at the word and know what it means. Say the Japanese word. I think that helps as well, yeah. Do you guys usually speak Japanese or English together? We speak mostly Japanese together with little English words sprinkled in.
そう、たまにね。たまにね。
That's called code switching, and most bilingual couples use it. So code switching is when both people understand a certain word in one of the languages, but it's possible that they feel like, and this isn't a thing you think about and then do, it's just sort of a natural process. But it's like a difficult word that someone thinks the other one might not understand. They will switch that word into the other person's native language when speaking the other language. And this is just something that it seems that is most international couples do. But we speak mostly like 99% Japanese, maybe more, and then sprinkled in English words. And sometimes we'll speak English in the presence of other people who aren't very good at Japanese, together even. Llama. When we are in the same category, more or less, we have to speak with ourselves, and headphones is must to understand fast speech and to repeat those words with native speakers in the videos. That can help too. It is difficult for me to learn things, but when I use them in real life, somehow they stick with me, and it's cool for slow learners like me. I think that's important for everyone to use it in real life.
Visual が
It looks like most people here today are visual thinkers. 69 votes. Nice. 45% visual, 33% word, 22% spatial. Got a lot of scientists here as well. Very cool.
スペシャルってことはなんか空間的に見てるってことですよね。
そういうこと。
どういう感じなのかな
And you can think like geometrically or like diagrams, like seeing like a diagram of the steps that might occur. Like you're here and then these are the different. I assume that's what spatial thinking is like. I don't know because I'm not a spatial thinker, but that's what we were watching a podcast, two Japanese guys who are word thinkers and なんていうポッドキャストだったっけ？
ゆる言語学ラジオ。
ゆる言語学ラジオ。Let's pull that up. I'll show you guys.
結構難しいチャンネルなんですよ、それ。ネイティブの、それです。ゆる言語学。今。
Yeah, this.
ネイティブの日本人向けに、その難しい言葉が何であるのかとか。
So this is aimed at native Japanese speakers, and she said it's for like, why do we have these difficult words? And it talks about Japanese itself, I guess.
とかこういう文法が嫌だとか。
And yeah, how they hate certain grammar and why it's stupid. And I think it's probably pretty advanced, probably not a super great one for new learners, but I quite enjoyed the 1 or 2 episodes that we watched, and that's one of the things that they were talking about: spatial learners, visual learners, or visual thinkers, and people who think in words. So that was pretty interesting.
その下のやつだね。この視覚思考者の世界。
視覚思考者 is people who think in images, and then なんだっけ？
言語
化能力？
それはわかんない。言語者？
なんだっけ？ I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so my friend is a really big code switcher. We are both Finnish, but she is basically talking half and half in English and Finnish. Okay, nice.
なんかね、片方、私のちょっと文句なんですけど。
complaint. はい。
片方だけしか使わなくなると、
はい。
英語ね、全然わかんなくなっちゃうのね。
Yeah, because we only use Japanese, or anyone who just uses one of the languages, you start forgetting the other language.
なんか前はこれなんだこれ前も言ってたけどなんだったっけみたいなやつとか、最初そのさ、たまにその外人図の集まりになった時は英語になるじゃないですか。
When we have a group of foreigners get together, it becomes English, and then the beginning.
最初の2時間ぐらいは、なんかね、あんまり聞き取れなくて。
For the first 2 hours or so, she can't really understand what she's hearing.
そうで、その後はまあまあ大丈夫なんだけど。
And then there's like a switch after that. She becomes sort of okay. I remember that when we came back to Japan. When we came back to Japan from abroad, it took me a little while to do the switch. Yeah.
そう、結構ね難しくなっちゃうから。でさ、アメリカに帰った時と家族と話すのはもうなっちゃうよね。超難しい。
When we go back to the States, sorry, you were just looking at my chat for a while. When we go back to the States, it's very hard for her to get back into the English mode.
そう。特になんか早いし、英語喋ってるのが早いし、なんて言ったのかあんまりわかんない時が多いし。
And Americans, especially where I'm from in the East Coast, they speak really, really fast.
そう、
and
早いんだよね。
That's not just all Americans. That's especially where I'm from, and they don't notice. So like what Americans in the East Coast they speak really, really fast like this, and then they think that it's when someone doesn't understand them, they think that it's the words that they're using and not necessarily the speed that they're talking at, like this. So they'll end up saying this at the same speed, but they'll maybe switch up the words. But it doesn't really help much because what's happening is they're speaking way too fast. But then sometimes the opposite happens where it is really difficult words that they're using, and then they'll talk really slow but still use super difficult words like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And that's also, it's very difficult. For people who haven't learned a second language, it can be very, very difficult to communicate with someone who isn't fluent in their language. And most people are bilingual or monolingual. Monolingual. I don't know. Where I'm from.
そうだからなんかハーフぐらいだったらすごいいいなって思うんだけど。
With us, yeah, it would be nice if we could speak English half and Japanese half. So yeah, her complaint mostly is that we don't split our time between English and Japanese more.
そうだってここまで来るとさ、私がどんなに毎日英語を一人で勉強しても、毎日のさ 99% はさ日本語なわけじゃないですか、でいきなりさある日突然アメリカに行きました。
そうだね。
で 100% 英語しか喋らなくなって、このこのギャップを埋めるところがない。
So that's her big complaint. She's complaining about our life and what we do. I agree, and we've talked about this quite a bit actually, and we try to incorporate it, but it never really works out.
まあしょうがないよね。だってさ、日本語を教えることがもう仕事になってるし。
Right. She said there's really nothing we can do about it because our job is teaching Japanese, so it becomes hard to really find a way to, since we're teaching Japanese all day every day, to split up that time. I think these streams are helpful. Because she has to listen to my English and read your guys' English a lot. So we found that, and when she was editing the videos for the Patreon back in the day, that helped a lot because she had to listen carefully and read a lot of English and stuff. So things like this definitely helps. It's good that we have this. Otherwise, there would be zero English.
そうだけどなんかやっぱりね、その言うそのプロナウンセーションとかは難しいよね。すっごいその早く言うやつ。
right.
早く言うやつ。
Speaking fast like that.
そうそう。それ難しいずっと。だって日本語って結構ねゆっくりだと思うんですよ私。
Japanese is much slower
だよね
than English.
そう。
For sure. And it doesn't blend things. One thing that native English speakers have a really difficult time with when starting to speak Japanese is that not everyone, but a lot of people, they want to speak faster and they will blend words together, sounds together in Japanese. And a lot of people, I get this comment a lot on the website actually, people will say, it's actually, I find it funny every time because they'll say, I'm sorry I sound so robotic. Or they'll say, I speak really slowly, I'm sorry. And then we'll listen to the recording and it's like, that's perfect. That's exactly the speed you want to be speaking at. And it was very clear, and it doesn't sound robotic at all. So like to native English speakers, speaking Japanese properly and clearly sounds robotic to them or feels robotic to them. Because if you were to speak English in the way that you're supposed to speak Japanese, it would feel very much like this as you were saying every single syllable clearly. And that would not be very cool, or maybe it would be, and you would sound like you were really important. And that's how Japanese should feel like. So just try that. Just try speaking English where you don't really emphasize every, points. And you say every single syllable the exact same length. And that's how Japanese should feel.
そうなんですよ。日本人はそうやって話しています。
Right, that's how Japanese people are speaking. And it sounds to you like they're speaking really fast. And some people do speak faster than others, and some areas of Japan speak much faster than others. But in a general sense, no, Andy, stop, I'm dying, says Alex. A lot of people they're dying. That's how you should feel like. You should feel like you're dying when you're trying to speak Japanese. You should feel like it's so slow and it's so clearly spoken that people are going to think you're a baby or you sound like an idiot. Yeah, monocle activated. And yeah, monocle activated. That's exactly what you should feel like when you're speaking Japanese. And if you feel that way, you're probably doing it right. I never saw the long katakana words like this. I can read it, but it doesn't make sense. My girlfriend is American and lives with me in Germany, and she has the same complaint. Because her German is worse than my English, so she always complains about that to me. If you're actually living in the country, like you're living in Germany, I think it's actually important to put a little bit more weight on the language of the country you're living in, just because it'll make life easier for the person who you're living with. Like, for example, if we lived in America, I would speak way more English to her, just because, like, she would need it. She's living in America. America in general is much less forgiving of, I don't know, maybe not nowadays, but when I was younger and lived in America, they were much less forgiving of you not understanding English. So I think it'd be much more important to at least spend 60% or more on the language of the country you're living in. And we live in Japan, so it's much harder to switch over because obviously I need the Japanese. But now that I'm, very fluent, it would be fine for us to speak a little more English. It's just hard because we teach Japanese. So, there are plenty of Japanese people who speak really fast, though. Yes, but it's different. It's different than English really fast. English really fast, when we get really fast, words just like disappear. Like, you just won't say the. There will be like a little pause for the, or like, I'll be saying like the other day. You see that? The other day. Neither of those words exist. They're all just like smushed into the other day. And that's English. But you can't do that in Japanese. Like, people don't do that in Japanese. They will cut off individual like characters, but it'll be like a single character missing, and the word will still be there. And but each character that they speak will be fully enunciated. Like you might say, for example, what's a good one? Os. Even just os. You still say the o and the s and the small tsu. They're all there. None of that gets cut.
昨日なんかしたとかそういう。
昨日なんかした。So every mora is spoken, even in people who are speaking really fast. Every single one is there. And the ones that are dropped are always dropped. And they're not blended into other ones. It's just like a certain word can be understood without that syllable. So it's different. It's different. And when you get used to that, it becomes very Japanese. Even people who are speaking fast begin to sound really, really slow compared to English. So I understand the difficulty. I how should I put it? I sympathize with people who have to learn English, especially from Americans.
確かにね、リミテッドフィッシュのそのいらっしゃいませは確かにね、
いらっしゃいませ。
あれだね、長い挨拶は超焦点にしたいよね。
Yes. Common expressions, those are definitely an exception to what I just said. So common expressions that are said like hundreds of times throughout a day and don't have any meaning, those tend to do become a little bit shorter, blended. They just cut everything basically. Ishaimase. They're still gonna have like the sha and the ma and the se, and like each character that is spoken is fully spoken, but there's no blending. I guess is what I want to say.
おはようございます。おはようございます。
おはようございます。おはようございます。Yeah, but still all of that is there. Someone asked a question that I thought was really good. Or they had a point. Oh, yeah. The people that think other people should just speak English do not understand how hard it is to speak English, and most of them don't even know how to speak another language, so screw them. I agree with you, and I disagree with you. So, like, I'm 100% that just speak English is, like, easier, said than done. But at the same time, devil's advocate here, I think it's like for your own sake, it's worth learning the language of the country you live in. So there are, let me think about this. There are a lot of Westerners who I know who live here in Japan who don't speak Japanese. And they've lived here for 10, 15, 20 years. And they don't speak Japanese. And like they get a few words. They can be like nani nani o kudasai or kore kudasai, or they know what like a plastic bag means, or when someone talks to them, maybe they understand like a decent amount of it, but they can't respond. And they get by fine. They're fine. Except the most miserable people and the people who complain the most about Japan are those people every single time, without exception. And they always need someone to go with them when they have to do something important. Always. They can never do anything by themselves. They have no independence whatsoever. They always need someone to help them. And they always seem to have the most misunderstandings about what's going on around them, which is obvious. Like, it makes total sense, because how would they understand everything? And they always tend to think that someone, I don't know. Point being, when you know the language of the place you live in, you get a much deeper insight into the culture there, which makes your life easier. Not just the life of the people around you, it makes your life easier. So the point is, not to do it for the people who say just speak English or whatever, just speak Japanese, which not a lot of people say. It just is for your own sake. It makes sense to try and learn the language of the country you live in, even though it's easier said than done, because your life will be better. That's all. Like my life, I can't even imagine what my life would be like if I didn't speak Japanese. Like, how boring would that be? Like, there's everything I've ever enjoyed doing in Japan I couldn't have done. Or at least couldn't have enjoyed doing it as much. Some people are fine. Like, they're fine when their little life in their little bubble of just English. They just have Western friends and their wife speaks English or their husband speaks English. So they don't need to do anything. And they just go to the supermarket and don't say hi to anyone. And they don't have any Japanese friends who aren't learning English. And the fact is that Japanese people who learn English to a fluent level tend to be a little bit different from Japanese people who never bother learning English, just culturally speaking, because they learned English because they don't like Japan and they want to go live in another country, so they tend to be more Western than other Japanese people, like a million different things. Yeah, so it's like a little living in a bubble, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that most people who learn the language of the place they live in tend to be happier and have more fun. So that's all. That's the end of that rant. What do you think?
はい、非常にそう思います。
非常にそう思います。Completely agreed.
そうだっておばあちゃん家に行くと私ノーメンさんしかクローセストフレンドいなくなる。
When she goes to Japan, to America, her closest friend is my grandmother's dog because she has a hard time, you know, talking with everyone. She can understand a lot of what everyone's saying, but when they're speaking, like, you know, one of my grandmothers with the dog has a lot of like expressions that she uses which don't mean anything that what she's actually talking about. Like they mean something completely different. And she'll be like, you know, or it is what it is. I don't know, just examples. And unless you're like amazing at context, in other words, unless you're native, even if you are native, you probably aren't going to know what she's talking about. So I feel for her there. I would think living there for 10 years would be really isolating. It would be. And that's why a lot of them are miserable. I think it would be and also another thing is if you're in an international relationship and you only speak English and the other person is like, they speak English, but they're not like amazing. A lot of those people end up in very difficult relationships and they don't know why. And it's because there's a lot that's being missed in the communication. I can't imagine not speaking Japanese living here. Yeah, I can't either. Because, like, unless you live in the middle of Tokyo, and even if you live in the middle of Tokyo, the amount of people who actually speak Japanese English to the point where you could, like, have a meaningful conversation is almost none. Then those non-Japanese speakers make YouTube videos about how lonely Japan is and how it's not worth moving there. Exactly. I think a lot of things that used to be regional, example, y'all got blurred and adopted more nationally because of the internet. Regional accents are slowly dying in the US too because of that. Regional accents are not dying in Japan because a lot of people don't use the internet here. So that's kind of nice, I guess. I get frustrated with friends who say I could never do X thing because the only thing actually holding them back is usually that mindset. I mean, yes, I hear you. But to be fair, some people don't want to do certain things, and that's perfectly fine. And some people are just like, they say, oh, I could never do that. But the fact is that they don't want to do it. So it would be nice if they would just say that. Like, I don't want to do that. But it's sort of a polite way of saying to the person who says, you should go do this. Like, oh, I could never do that. It's a polite way of saying, I'm not interested. So there's that. I can't believe dogs can already speak Japanese nowadays. What? so dogs can speak every language.
猫も喋るからね。
Cats do, eh? This is the last question before I leave. I wish you see it. Is it harder to learn Japanese for people whose native language is Spanish? No, not at all. In fact, pronunciation in Spanish is a little bit, most Spanish is closer to Japanese than English. So I found that Spanish people who can get past, there's a couple, yo and jo, those kind of sounds are very difficult for Spanish speakers. You'll hear a lot of Spanish speakers say daiobu instead of daijobu. And then reversed, when they need to say yomu, they say jomu or something like that. That seems to be very common for Spanish speakers. But beyond that, like that tight area of pronunciation, I haven't noticed Spanish speakers having any more difficulty than English natives in learning Japanese. In fact, some of our like most advanced students on the website are from Spain or from Latin America. So definitely not a definitely not a obstacle at all. I had the best time in Japan on my trip because I learned a few words and tried as much as possible to speak Japanese. People were so warm and kind. I have so many great memories because of it. 100% Dave. I never thought I had any problems communicating with Yuki when she was here. I mean, she probably didn't understand 100% of what you said, for sure. But she still got quite a bit of it, I think. Communication in any relationship is hard enough without a language barrier. 100%. Gen Z English in no time. We'll see. Aitoki-san, one last doubt for today. それで is in that or so.
それで
Depends on the context.
そうですね。
それで Some people just say それで as like a goodbye. Like I'll see you after that. But yeah. それで it's like and then and next. It depends on the context. I need like a full sentence, honestly, to be able to answer that question. Have my conversations with your apps and chat GPT, but we're still really great connections. Absolutely. I mean, and Japanese people don't expect you to learn the language here when you're visiting. They expect that you don't know it. So even if you know just a little bit, they're going to be super friendly and super happy about that. So that's a great thing about here. But that's also why a lot of people think, well, then I don't have to worry about learning Japanese because people are so friendly. But the thing is that eventually it's like, hey, dude, I need you to I don't know, help with the monthly forest cleaning. Could you please learn some Japanese so I can explain to you what to do? Like there comes a point when it's like the facade of where the friendliness goes away. It usually doesn't, but it tends to be when you've lived here for a long time. People are like, come on, man, give us a little something. Any feedback about the Hey Japan Premium app? Recommender, I have no idea what that is. I never heard of it, so I can't give any feedback. Maybe someone else can. It is the negative attitude I dislike. They are all high and mighty with the, you need to speak English to be here. Then they go someplace else and complain no one speaks English. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, those kind of people suck. But at the same time, I don't necessarily disagree with the premise. That's all. Thinking about dropping Japanese from zero for your course instead. You could always do them both together. I don't know much about Japanese from zero, but I don't think it's bad from what I've heard. But definitely check it out if you're interested. Watch some of the YouTube videos first on this channel, though, to make sure that our style fits you. Because it doesn't fit some people. My dog speaks with me and I tell him that don't speak, please. I once talked to a Spanish guy and only after 30 minutes I realized he wasn't the DJ, but the actual DJ. Yeah. When should I try to speak Japanese rather than English when I visit Japan? Whenever you want. How's the kanji content coming along? Little by little. We're focusing on getting the vocabulary deck finished because I want to only use the first 100 words from the vocabulary deck in the new kanji reading section. But until that's like perfectly decided, we can't do that. But now the order at least is perfectly decided for the vocabulary deck, and all the sentences are set in stone. Just like a final check, and then I have to do the translations and recording, and then that'll be good to go. And then the kanji will come along. Part of my motivation is that my journal page has the thumbnail video with what have I done and that look on Andy's face. Nice. Was playing Cyberpunk this week and they have a fair bit of Japanese in it. It's felt really good that I could just glance at the hote sign and read it without even thinking about it. That's awesome. Yeah, that's always fun. Thanks for the stream. Time to go to bed. Have a good night, everyone. Have a good night. Up to date.
Oyasumi.
You're very welcome, Melaz VJ. I might have missed your question, Melaz. Sorry. You have to pop that back up.
ビジュアルポールのことはいいんですか？何も。ビジュアルシンカーとあれ、ワードの。
We talked about that, no? It was 42% visual, 42% visual, 33% words.
その結果見れればよかった。
そう。That's all I wanted to see.
何
Just to
か
get the
これで
conversation
話をしたいとかではなく。
全然ない。But it looks like more people are like you. More people are visual thinkers than like me, thinking in words. It's interesting. I would have thought the opposite. But of course I would have.
難しいよね。私本読めないんですよ、あんまり。
Yuki has a hard time reading books.
字を読んで、その世界をさ、自分の中に作るじゃん。
It doesn't become an image.
そう。で、それを作るのが難しくて、なんかさ、字読んでるだけだと、なんか その世界を作るところになんかミスが発生するんですよ
Yeah,
ね。なん
it
か
doesn't. It becomes
繋
too
がら
literal,
な
right?
いところがなんかあって、そのあれゼルダみたいにそのなんか隠れてるマップのところみたいなのが発生して、その世界に。
When she reads a book, she
なんか
finds that I think what happens with her is that it becomes very literal. Like what she reads, she can't make the image like fill in the blank area. It's like an author will generally only see like there was a cabin on the other end of the lake,
うん
but they won't like for her as a visual thinker, then she just sees a cabin and a lake, but then there's like none of the other context around it, so it's like just a black world
そうそう
with
難
a
しい
lake
ん
in
で
a
すよ
book, and so she finds that difficult.
そうそ
Yeah.
うね、みんなもそうだったんだね。
So the visual thinkers
いや
might have
そう
that.
だね
For me, when I read a book, it just goes and I'm in the world.
そうそれ
I
は
will
ね
read that, Grammy.
うん、できないんですよ。
I did read that actually, but my response is it has to be longer, so I didn't have time to respond to it yet. But one of the things you mentioned was about individual kanji in the readings, and my sort of philosophy on that is that it's not worth learning individual readings for each of the kanji. It's better to learn a word as a whole and not worry about which kanji has which part of the reading. But we'll think about that for the future videos. That was the main thing I wanted to bring up, but I'll respond to the rest of it as well. Should I still start if I don't have that big of vocabulary because I started a few weeks ago? Oh, you're talking to someone else. Okay. Yuki is a draw cute picture thinker. Yes, yes.
ありがとうございます。ありがとうなのかなそれって。うん、そうだよね。そう、キュートありがとうございます。キュートピクチャーはありがとうございます。
I guess more people have your lessons over here. Can you tell me a little bit about it? And you I see. About our course. Only $10 is not much, I would say. The course is mostly like a sort of it's for self-guidance, so you guide yourself through it. But it is ordered in a way so that you can sort of go step by step through the Genki textbooks. But we also have reading material, like 100 or so stories to go along with it, using grammar that you've learned up to that point. And there will be extra vocabulary in there, which you can click on to, learn new words and stuff. And we have lots of extra videos for example, in Genki, the textbook practice section, a lot of times you need a partner. So we made that into a video so that you can practice along with us in the video. Lots of stuff like that. There's challenges where you record yourself and then we check those for you. So there's a lot of interaction between Yuki and I. If you comment, if you are interactive in it. Some people aren't. There's lots of people who go through the whole course and we never talk to them once, but that's up to your style. So that's basically what the course is. And we both do it together, and there's a couple other people who have been involved as well, so you'll hear other voices in the stories and things like that, because other people have written some of the stories and stuff. So there's lots going on over there. And you can also watch all the videos from the course, like within YouTube. You can also have it all in one place, so it's all in there. So that's the basic thing. We have a kanji course in there, which is also on YouTube, but like we have the Anki decks and like practice and stuff on there. So that's basically what's happening over there. And as for ourselves, Yuki and I are married. We've been married for 3 years or so. We've been together for 9 years, and I've lived in Japan for 12. That's basically about us. Yep. After I read a book, I can't remember any of the words. I remember it as if I watched a movie. Same. I'm the same. Which would make you think you're a visual thinker, but I don't think so. It's because I read the words and I think in words that becomes like a movie for me. I don't know. It's interesting.
あ、こんばんは。
こんばんは。
なんか
おやすみ
ビジュアル、多分ね、違う人に言ってんね。ビジュアルティンカーにかどうかってちょっとすごい分かれるポイントがあると思ってて。
Okay, there's a point where a visual or a word thinker where they separate from each other that she thinks.
そう。何か思い出すときとか、
when you remember something.
そう、テストとかね、夢を見てるときに、その日あったこととか現実にあった過去のことが、このぼやぼやってこうなんていうの思い出してくる。
Right.
でこの前ゆる言語学ラジオでちょっと
So she says, hold on, before you go in there. So like when you remember something, if you see it in front of your face, like you're there or not. And then when in that podcast we were talking about earlier.
そうテストを受けるときに、
when you take a test,
覚えてなくても教科書でなんか教科書のページがぼやぼやって出てきて、
if you're taking a test and you can't remember exactly, but you can see the textbook page that you read it on, and you can like reread it in your mind. that's a very visual thing. That's something that is impossible for me to even imagine.
そういうのがあれば、visual thinker だと思う。
That's what we tend to call in like colloquial terms pictographic memory. And that's what she has, 100%. She can just see a page and she remembers the page and she can reread it. Like when she's learned when we're doing piano, she'll like go through the music. She'll read it once. And then she's just doing it. She's just practicing it. She can see it in her head. I can't even imagine that. Like I have to read it and to play it. And then I can play it later, but I don't have the music in my mind. What I have in my mind is the sounds. So I know the sounds that I want. So I can press the keys that I know make that sound because I've memorized the sound that I need to have. But I can't see the music. That's what she can see. So that's a huge difference.
そうだからそれがあれば多分
If you have that, you're very much a visual.
visual thinker の可能性が強いんじゃないかと
I
思
see.
ってい
So
る
if you have that, there's a very high chance that
そう
you're a visual
なんか
thinker.
そう例えばその思い出す時とかはなんかこういうことあったよねっていうその時のことがなんか自分がそのムービーなんかハリーポッターみたいなんですけど
Right. It's like that
その
that
トム・リドル
pool
の
where you stick your
そうそう
your face into and then you head back in time. That's what memories are like for her.
そうそうそういうふうに
I'm kind of jealous, sort of. I don't know. I'm not sure if that would be like nice or if it would be like difficult. I don't know.
すごい情報量
I
だよね
definitely don't have that. What's really nice is that apparently, like, if she goes to someplace new one time, she can get back there no problem every time. Whereas I have to go quite a few times before I can remember how to get somewhere again. I think she's like way over on the visual side. Like I said earlier, the memory, the way you think is sort of a spectrum where some people are a little bit more words, but they still have the visual thing. She's like way over on the visual side. Way over there.
かもね
I have like that thing where you can't visualize anything in my mind. Yeah, that I'm like, I can visualize things, but I'm not very good at it. Yeah, aphantasia people are so perplexed by that concept. I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming that's people who think in words. I don't know. I paid for his content. It was not a waste for sure, just hard sometimes because I'm only 6 months into my learning. Fair enough. Thank you, Michael. Do you think diving into content way above your level is worth the trouble? I picked up a couple manga series. It depends. Too far above your level and you're just going to burn out really, really fast. And even if you look up every single word, you're still not going to understand the sentence half the time. So I don't tend to feel like things way above your level are valuable. Some people would argue with that. I think it depends on the type of person. Some people are more comfortable with not understanding what they're reading and just barreling forward. Some people aren't. And so that very much depends on the type of person you are. I am not. So unless I can look up each word and understand the sentence then, like that needs to be the level of content I'm consuming. Otherwise, I don't feel like I learn anything. So like when I played visual novels, like I did that whole month visual novel challenge, in the beginning it was difficult. But as long as it was because my vocabulary was weak, not because my grammar or whatever was weak. So when I look up the word I didn't know in the sentence, I knew what the sentence meant. So I was able to read the whole visual novel and I understood everything that went on. Like there was no point in it where I was like, what happened? So it was just a matter of lacking vocabulary. So that was an okay level for me. But if you don't have any idea what's going on in the grammar of the story or like you don't have any expressions in Japanese, so you don't know these different things going on, it's going to be very difficult even if you look up all the words. So I think you need a little bit of context for that. See you later, Kaylee. Thanks for hanging out.
はいおやすみなさい
Nice to see all of your regulars and nice to meet a lot of your new people. Absolutely, same. My work is on Discord, so prefer.
おー
Just join the Discord. Nice, yeah. The Discord is currently mostly locked. So there's a lot of channels on there that we've locked up and made private only for the members of the website just because it was too much. There was too much drama. And I didn't feel like dealing with it. So I locked it up just for members because a lot of the free people were getting into arguments and stuff with the members, and it was a mess. It was a mess, and it wasn't fun anymore, and nobody was actually using it to learn. It was just like a battleground. It used to be so chill, and then there was all this stuff going on. I was like, you know what would be easier? If we just made this private, just for the members, and then we leave a few channels open for the people who aren't members, just because I feel like it's nice to have a place for Japanese questions, and there's a few of the games that people who aren't members can still use. and stuff like that. And yeah, people who aren't members anymore but used to be, they get to stay. So like it's like a one time. If you become a member once, you get to be a member fully on the Discord forever. That's more of a technical limitation. But yeah. People with aphantasia can't visualize things at all. It's where the meme, can you rotate a red apple in your mind came from. I see. I can do that. I'm doing it right now. Rotating an apple in my mind. I can see it. I can see all sides of it. But can you see all sides of it at the same time? No. Just stopping by to say thank you for the great, consistent content. It's been seriously helpful. Thank you for putting in all the effort. You're very welcome, Miriam. Thank you. Getting to use Discord for work, yeah. Oyasumi Radclaw. Do you like cheese? Heck yeah. Do you like cheese, Yuki?
Yes. スイスチーズが好きです。
She likes Swiss cheese, yeah.
アメリカでしか食べれません。日本に売ってません。
I secure them from scams. That's always nice, yeah. Crypto discards. Woo. That sounds like chaotic. But yeah, no, I'm happy with the way the Discord is now. It's much chiller. I used to be a mod on the Discord till it turned into the Wild West. Radclaw was also a mod. He says, yeah, the Discord was insane. Can you visualize an apple in your hand? Can you then take a bite from it and taste it and smell it? Yes, I can do all that. Any advice on dealing with the inverted structure order in Japanese sentences and how Japanese speakers put their thoughts together in a sentence? It's very hard to listen and understand it. Yeah, in the beginning, it's hard. Now it's not so much. Partially because, did the house just shake? Or was that you hitting your foot? Maybe a door slammed. That's weird. From the wind. Okay. A lot of times in Japanese, you just have like a one-word sentence, like taberu. I'm just going to eat. So like in like practice, it doesn't end up becoming much of an issue. With that said, a lot of times you don't know what's going to happen in the sentence until the sentence is finished. Mm-hmm. With that said, the reason it's hard for you right now is because when you're reading a sentence or hearing a sentence, it's usually probably spoken at a very slow pace. And it takes a while for you to get to the end of the sentence. But in practice, sentences just blast by. So there isn't, like, by the time you've processed what's being said, the sentence is already finished and you've got the verb that you need. So in practice, it becomes much, much easier. Now, in the beginning, it's sometimes useful to translate backwards. I don't recommend translating at all, honestly. I recommend getting used to the language and trying to fit it into the things that you already know and not translating. But if you must translate, I suggest reading the sentence backwards, and that can help a lot. Motto and mottomo. They're just completely different.
最もって
Mottomo is an adverb, I believe, that means more.
そうそう。あ、違う、
not
それ
most,
more でしょ
the most or the most, like the top. Mottomo ookii machi, like the biggest town. And then motto just means more. So mottomo is the most, and motto is more. I want more. Motto tabetai. So motto tabetai means I want to eat more. Mottomo tabetai, you can't say that.
そうですね。
最も美味しいカニを食べたい. Like, I want to eat the most delicious crab. You could say that.
あと、最もは、その、なんて言うんだっけ、conjunction particle。
最も is a conjunction particle.
そう、この but then とか although の時に、最もこれだけはありますけど。
So in a different situation, yeah, you can use that as
け
a
れども
conjunction.
みたいな感じで。
けど。
そうそう。最もは。
Can do that as well.
だから全然違うものですね。
Is the information about the Discord on the site? Yeah, at the top of your dashboard where it has the list of all the courses, there's like a menu, and on the far right of the menu it says get your Discord role. So if you click on that and you put in the information you need, you get the yellow Discord role on the Discord, and you can see the whole thing then. Does the wa clause always have to be at the beginning of the sentence? No, not at all. That's what's great about particles. You can put what they are connected to anywhere in the sentence as long as you connect the particle there. Hey, Andy and Yuki, I landed an internship and I'm moving to Hokkaido for a couple months in fall. Nice. I'm both excited and nervous. Like, which side of the escalators do I stand on? Any side is fine. Although in Tokyo, I believe it's on the left. In Osaka's on the right?
So,
other way?
東京が right で
You stand on the right. Osaka, you stand on the
大阪が
left.
そう left.
Hokkaido's probably like Tokyo, you stand on the right, I imagine.
そう、北海道は そっか、ちょっと上だよね。上でしょ。東京の上の方ですよね。
そういう話じゃなくて、
あ
エスカレーターを立ってる時にはどっち側に座る
わかんない
立つか。東京は左側だよね。左側に立つ、右側歩く。
すいません。
Escalator ね。
エスカレーターですね。はい、そうです。
So
その通
Tokyo
り
you
です。
say on the
多
left,
分
and Osaka and south of Osaka you say on the right. And then so since Hokkaido is north of Tokyo, I imagine you say on the left, but it's not really a big deal. Just do whatever and all the people around you are doing.
うん。
I'm sure that's just sort of a joke, but you'll be fine. You're gonna have a great time.
そうだね。合ってるわ。本当だ。東京 is left to stand って書いてある。Walk on the light。うん、そうだね。
That also happened a lot, not a lot, but it happened from time to time on our Discord. So we basically banned all talk of politics and most current events just because it wasn't useful for language learning. Also, the issue with language learning Discords is, as I mentioned in our most recent video, is most people just end up talking about language learning and like feeling like they've done something towards language learning, but they haven't. So it becomes like a way to procrastinate actually learning. So that's another thing I started feeling more and more about our Discord, which is another reason I made it private. So nowadays it's more really just aimed at like if people have certain questions or, yeah, it more sort of gets people into actually learning, hopefully, than most language learning Discords. I've never found a Discord super helpful for language learning despite having one. Although we used to do like events and stuff in the Discord. We'd do like a games together or we'd do like a Scriblio, things like that. We did some reading club. The reading club is still there. I don't know if we have a current book being read now. Those kind of things can be very helpful. And we do have that in the Discord. But.
そうリーディングクラブね。なんか私的にはリーディングクラブもうちょっとやってもいいなと思ってるんですよ。
It would be nice to do the reading club, yeah. But
そうちょっとね難しい本じゃないやつを選べ。
We have to find books that are better for it. Yeah. Why is it that sometimes I understand all the components in a sentence, grammar and vocabulary, yet somehow my brain still cannot comprehend the meaning altogether? You just need to get more exposure to it. You have to encounter it more often. The first time it just doesn't come together. And that's quite natural. Work hard in your target language until you can speak about language learning in your target language. That way it becomes productive. Yes, that can be good. Thank you, Toki-san. Now I can understand. Nice. こんばんは。ありがとうございます。寝る。おやすみ、Christian. Sleep well. Why did you start learning Japanese? I'm really curious. I lived here. So I came to Japan for 1 year just to make some money, and then I was going to go to India. That was my plan. And then I was going to go to India for a year, and then I was going to go somewhere else. And I was going to work everywhere I went, just traveling around the world. That was sort of my dream. But after 6 months in Japan, I realized I really, 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 really liked it. So I was going to stay for at least another year. And when I realized that I was going to be here for 2 years and I hadn't learned any Japanese, I was like, well, I'm going to be here for 2 years. I should at least try and learn some Japanese. So I immediately quit English, just immediately on the spot, and spent a couple months basically just doing Japanese. And then I started doing 5 hours of Japanese every day for 2 years, every single day, except on like Saturday nights or Friday nights. No, Saturday nights, Sundays. Yeah, I'd go out with my friends in town, in the city, and speak Japanese with people out. So those days I didn't study, but I tried to use it. So it was just basically, I figured if I was going to live here for 2 years, I would have a way better time if I spoke Japanese. So that's what I did. That was the only reason. I didn't actually have any interest in Japanese or learning it until I'd already been here for 6 months. Thanks, Chad. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
ね、よかったです。
Verb conjugation is kicking me really hard. I need an easier way, the easy way to learn it. It can take some time. What countries did you go to before Japan? A lot of Europe.
そのバーブカンジュゲーションのことについて聞きたかったんですけど、その一番その役に立つバーブカンジュゲーションって何だと思う？
Yuki's asking what I think the most useful verb conjugation is. One second, fractalistic, I went to Spain, France, Germany, Belgium, Netherlands, England, Spain, England, Scotland, Ireland. But that was all in 6 months.
いいな。
Was there anywhere else along that line? Can't remember. Something like that. Anyway, the most useful verb conjugation is probably the te form, because you can connect it to so many things. With that said, the one you can use right away is just the dictionary form. You don't even need to conjugate. Just taberu, iku. So no verb conjugation is extremely useful, although, a little bit rough. Then next, most useful is te form because you can just use it with so many other things. And then next I would say is mas because it's just nice and polite.
なるほど。
That's the order I would go with. So are you gonna give a little quick tip on that? Is that what you're gonna write?
いや、まだないですけど、ちょっとクイックティップない。
俺トイレに行きたいからなんかあるかな? Understand the rules. I can't bring my mind which ending to attach. It drives me crazy. Yeah, that's a matter of, practice and running into it more. That can help a lot. Yeah, listening practice can happen. ありがとうございます、ラジャさん。
はい。verb conjugation ね。
久しぶり。Live fast, read faster.
まあ、マスフォームができたらね、まずとってもいいと思いますよ、ね。
Yeah, if you can do the mass form, yeah, that can help a lot. Guys, I'm gonna run to the bathroom quick. I'll be right back. Maybe we'll play a game when I get back while Yuki's gonna do something on the board for you. Be right back.
はい。でもそんなに something ってマスフォームじゃあマスフォームね。マスフォームが多分一番最初にやった方がいい。マスフォームね。多分このマスフォーム is the most easiest ですね。I think。違うかなこのでディクショナリーフォームほいほいほいはいちょっとどこまでいったかな I understand the rules I can't bring to mind which ending to attach it that drives me crazy そうだよねマスフォームはI think ちょっと think かけてねえなこれははいこうねよしちょっとコメントを読んでいきたいと思います I think just more listening practice will help with this I used to struggle the same way そっか皆さん頑張っていらっしゃるんですね I just finished the class of Japanese 102 and Genki 1おめでとうございます Should I keep going to Genki 2 or jump to Tobira or Quartet? I think Quartet is a bit too soon じゃないちょっと扉っていくつ教科書あるのかな One is same level as 元気1だよね扉って
扉
扉ってさレベルがハイヤーなの、
nope.
同じだよね元気1と、
It's exactly the same book. It's the same book.
Same book?
Basically. Where is it? Here's 扉1.
So 扉2が almost equal with 元気2じゃない
Tobira 2 is pretty much the same as Genki 2, yeah. If you look at the breakdown, well, I hear the
そう、コーテットに行くのはちょっと早すぎると思います。
Quartet? What's the question?
そう、ここにね、I learned あれ102 and 元気1ってやつ。
Should I keep going to Genki 2 or jump to Tobira or Quartet? I see. Yeah, if you've only done Genki 1, you should do Genki 2 is best bet. Or Tobira 2. Either way is fine. Don't get Tobira Intermediate yet, because that'll be way out of your it'll be way too hard.
そうコーテットって文法なんですけどなんていうの文法のエクスプレッションがもう多いよね。
Yeah, quartet is what she said there is that quartet is it's got grammar, but it's mostly grammar expressions. It's like they call them bunke. It's like a pattern, sentence pattern or sentence form.
だから、conjugation というものはほぼなくて
there's almost no conjugations. It's patterns.
そ だからカンジゲーションを多分そのパターンの前に全部やっとかないとその後難しくなっちゃうか
Yeah,
ら。
so if you don't have like the basic conjugations and the basics of Japanese down
うん、
before you go into quartet, like all the conjugation, like especially like a potential, which if you've only done Genki 1, you haven't done potential yet, which is like one of the most important. That should have been in Genki 1, to be honest. Then quartet's going to be pretty much useless because it's just like quartet is a lot of things to like make your Japanese sound nicer, and a lot of things you're going to run into when you're reading, but not so much. Yeah, not so much like straight up grammar like Genki was. Verb conjugation must form, I think, most easiest.
そうまだね何もやってないんですけど、
Okay, didn't do anything.
まあちょっとコメント読んだ、ちょろぴりっとコメントを読んだだけで、そう私がねやっぱり一番やった方がいいと思うのはマスフォームとディクショナリーフォームなんですよ。であとはそのバーブのタイプが2つある、その1段バーブと5段バーブっていう。
Yeah, if you don't know that, then mass form is going to be really difficult. So I think
その4つ最初覚えられれば、その後に出てくるバーブカンジュゲーションはすごくなんかそこまで難しくないと思っているんですけど。
Yeah, so dictionary form, if you got that covered and you know what go-down verbs and ichi-down verbs are, you're going to have pretty much, you'll have an easier time. And then mas form is pretty much the base for everything else. So that can be, getting those down is very important.
そう、さっきあれマイコルさんがちょっとカンジュゲーションしてたその見る見ますってやつ、見るっていうのは一段バーブだよね。
見る is yes an ichi-down verb.
そう、だけど会わないとか食べるも一段バーブだし、あと話すか、話すは5段バーブ、
Right, so they conjugate a little bit differently. But the rules, of course, are covered in our lesson 3 video, which can be very, very helpful.
そう、その音のルールが分かれば多分なんかチャートが作れて、
right. My video on verb conjugation, the one where I cover all the verb conjugations, is I think it's helpful. You might have to watch it once or twice. People say a lot, but then when they do, it's like, oh, now it makes sense. That can be helpful. But in practice, when you actually want to use it, it takes some time. Grammy said, why do you wear headphones? You can't hear us. What do you hear? Yeah, so 2 reasons for the headphones. One is we can hear what we sound like. So it helps us keep the levels right so we don't get too loud or too quiet. So it helps us keep the levels. But mostly it's for like if we're going to play a game or if we watch a video together, then if we don't have the headphones on, it comes out speakers and then there will be feedback on the mic. So it's mostly for just in case we watch a video or we play a game that we have them on. When we're just doing this, like today we planned on playing a game, but it might not happen because the chill time has been over almost 2 hours. So we had the headphones on in preparation for that. But it's also nice to be able to hear ourselves. So like what we sound like on the mics, because we can hear exactly what we sound like to you with the headphones on. That's why. At what level do you think I should do something like Animal Crossing? And is Animal Crossing New Horizons good for learning? It's a hard question for a couple of reasons. I'll go into why. Short answer is yes, it's great for learning. Because there's a lot of things in Animal Crossing which are like just stuff you run into in daily life, like furniture and stuff. You see a lot of that. It's very good. With that said, there's a lot of... one person made a comment on one of the videos. I can't remember which one it was. They said, Animal Crossing is terrible for learning because there's so many puns you wouldn't get.
Cool.
I disagree with that significantly because every game has lots of puns you're not going to get unless you're fluent in Japanese. And just because you don't get the puns doesn't mean the game isn't fun or help you learn. Same thing with I think Yokai Watch is a great game for lower level learners because it's a lot of simple Japanese. But there's also every single monster in that game is a pun. Every single one. And just because I don't understand all of the puns doesn't mean I don't find the game fun or helpful in learning. So, 見るは一段だよ。
あ、そうか、見だからか。
いるだから。
そうだね、いる。
Yeah, so don't worry about that. But as for what level you should start at, that's a harder question to answer because of what I said earlier, really. Some people don't get discouraged when they can't figure out what's being said. And some people, if they don't understand 90% of what they're reading, will want to quit really fast. Some people are fine with that. So if you're fine with that, you can start pretty much any time, and you'll learn stuff. If you're not fine with that and you feel like you're not going to enjoy it unless you can understand at least a decent amount of what's going on, then you're probably going to need to be, you don't need to finish Genki 1 and 2, but you need to be at a level of similar to someone who has finished both of those and have a vocabulary of at least a couple thousand words, probably. Like at least 2,000 probably. And then you could you could enjoy it more. One thing about Animal Crossing is that when you get to a certain point in the game, it just becomes a lot of like sort of grinding, which becomes much less useful at that point than some other types of games, but it's still not bad. I don't even know what verbs, adjectives, or any of that is in English, and I graduated top of my class with honors. Is it really that important to learn them compared to just knowing them? No, I mean, in theory, you don't need to understand what they are to be able to speak properly. With that said, it can be good to understand what the difference is between certain things like toi and toku. So like one is the adjective, toi, which is far, and then one is the adverb, far. Maybe there's some better examples than that. But the reason it's important to understand that is because if you say, if you're trying to modify a noun, like a thing with the adverb, it's not going to make sense. So like just understanding which is which can be helpful, but it's not like a huge issue. You can make a nice little chart.
Hi.
Let's see.
ここに話して、ここが手フォームが来るね。だよね。はい。そう、日本人でもね、このねチャートを作ってconjugation する練習するんですよ。
Japanese people also make this chart to practice conjugations when they're in school.
だからね、これでまあこのチャートを作らなくても、例えばその話さない、話します、まあ話す、話せば何々で、話そうのレッツっていうボリショナル、これの全部のカンジュゲーションのグラマーのとこがあって、これをね、その頭の中で考えられるようになるまで、こういうのを書いて練習するのね、みんな。
はいはいはい。Before they can do it in their head, they write this out and they practice. いいよ。どうぞ。
そう、だからこういうのをなんていうの、ビデオを見てその5段とか1段とか教えてくれるんですけど、それを実際に使ってやる方が多分いいじゃないかなって。
Actually using them in real life will help them stick faster. What's happening here on her chart is that she's moving the final character here, the su, hana su, the final character, which always ends in a new sound, up and down this line, a, i, u, e, o. So you move it to a certain place, a, i, u, e, or o, and then you add something to it, and that's your conjugation. So it's always just a matter of changing this last little character for go down verbs. So for negative here, we move the su to the sa and add nai. For mas, you move the su to the e line of, if it's this would be sa shi su se so you'd move su to the e line, which would be shi, and then add mas, so hana shi mas. Then for dictionary form, it's just how it is, hana su. And then conditional, which is if, means if you move to the se line, so su moves to se, and then you add ba, hana seba, if I talk. And then for volitional is let's do something, and it has some other usages as well, but you move the su to the o line, and that becomes so hana so hana so, you extend it. So basically it's just moving up and down that line, and if you just think of where do I move it to, that helps.
そうで、このコンディショナルとボディショナルはN4 だからね。
That's N4, so you don't need to worry about it. 最初は
この3つだけ、このあいうとこの話すだったら S だけが残ってさしすになるんですけど、そこだけができれば、ぶっちゃけ話すのは全然余裕だと思う。ここができればね。
If you just learn these three plus Te form and short form past tense. Te form, just use the song.
そう、ここが N4
This is N4, so don't worry about it. She said too much. And then these ones, as long as you can do this, you can have a lot of conversations.
そう。で、これが5段バーブのカンジュゲーションチャートって感じですね。
One thing to mention is that you can use the ma stem for su, ones that end in su to get the te form. So hanashite, but that's not true for everything. So that's not true for all the godan verbs. So there's some that change. So like ku, ones that end in ku become ite. So like a song or a mnemonic can help for those as well.
だから一応ね、その話、ここのマスフォームがテフォームになるんだけど、ここはイレギュラーがいっぱいってことですよね。テフォームになるときはイレギュラーがいっぱい。
Instead of thinking about that trick for that, it's probably better. Y'all's kind of handwriting makes me feel a bit better about my own. I was stressing that I couldn't get each one looking perfect, but I think mine looks similar to both yours. Yeah, that's good. Dan's working on editing a video right now for us that where Yuki destroys all of my kana. So basically, I write a kana, she tells me what's wrong with it, and then I try and write it better. So that video, it's long, but it was fun. So we recorded every single one of the hiragana, and she critiqued them. And I think that will be very helpful in making yours look better as well. Hopefully that video you enjoy when we release that. But generally speaking, yeah, if it's readable, it's fine.
この一段チャートもあるから、それはまたここがいるになるんですけど。
Speaking of which, I also have videos that cover both of those. So in detail, the exact same chart. So let's pull that up. We got the videos. We search verbs. Hey, here we go. Take a look at this. This Japanese verb conjugation covers all the rules that she just covered right there. Godan. And then right here is the ichidan version. We have the same kind of charts. If you go in here, we've got
Nuku.
It's old, so it's kind of hard to watch.
Comes from Godan, you may notice, is you need to
so then I have here, we're moving up and down.
Character in the dictionary form, which is, for example, ku and aruku, and move that character up and down the chart to get the stem from.
So these videos can be helpful, I think. It's the same kind of thing as what Yuki's saying.
このねチャートをねもうノートのねの横のとこにね作っとくのよ。そうオールドジャパニーズの時は超そうしてたんですけど。
They had to use charts like that a lot in their old Japanese. Old Japanese where they learn like ancient Japanese from hundreds of years ago. And all the kids would write this in their notebook, this chart, so that they could know where to move the conjugation up to for old Japanese, because it's not intuitive for natives even to use old Japanese, so they still need charts like that as well.
そうオールドジャパニーズで言うとねちょっとオフサイズになるんですけど、ここにね線がもう一個出てきてカンジゲーションがまた増えるんですけど、まあそれはね現代の日本語はやらないから。
おやすみでも。
そうそう。だからねみんなこういうところにね作っといて、こういうところにね。で1段のやつと5段のやつ。そうすればなんかこう変な感じっていうか、そのなんていうの、これを言った時に話とかだと変になるじゃないですか。ここ1段のやつです。もし分かんないバーブが来てもこのどっちかに当てはめて話すとかになると変になっちゃう時は、じゃあこれは違う5段一段バーブなんだみたいなの。
Only a native can do that though.
そうなんだ。
Because we don't know if it sounds weird or not.
そうか。
So she said what the kids do is they'll use that chart and they'll be like they'll try it in all of the different possibilities, and if it sounds weird they know, oh, this one must be ichidan. But that only works for a native. Because if we were to say taberimasu, taberimasu. Oh, that sounds weird. We can't do that. We don't know when we're just starting out that it sounds weird. Taberimasu. Oh, I guess that's it. So that unfortunately is a trick that only works for natives.
最初はこれを書いて覚えるしかないね。そうか。
I don't think you need to write the chart to memorize it though. I think you just need to again, writing the chart might be useful for visual learners, but I think just thinking, okay, this changes to the E line. And then, having the chart can help, but that you can't use a chart when you're speaking. So, my Japanese teacher never calls them godan and ichidan verbs. He puts them in groups instead of godan being group 1. That's because he uses genki, and genki was silly. And they decided instead of teaching you how everyone learns it in Japan forever, from forever, that they would make a new category called group 1 and group 2 instead of just saying what they are. So like if you were to say to a Japanese native person who's not a Japanese teacher who uses genki, so a Japanese teacher, if you were to try to explain what you're talking about to a Japanese person who isn't a Japanese teacher who uses genki, long sentence there, they won't know what you're talking about if you say group 1 and group 2 verbs. So I I've complained about this a million times in all the videos with Genki. I complain all the time about Genki using group 1 and group 2. And, or I guess Genki uses a do and oo verbs. That's also stupid. It's not stupid, but it doesn't make any sense because it's not accurate. And the same thing with group 1, group 2. I think it makes way more sense just to call them what they are, godan and ichidan. But it's fine. I guess group 1 and group 2 is better than do and oo verbs.
そうだね。そっか。
But either way, same thing. A separate third group specifically for kuru and suru.
あ、そう。それね、来るとするはもう日本人もそのまま覚えます。
So, because it's only 2, so it doesn't necessarily need.
そう、来るはね、後期、来る、来れ、来よだし。
そう。Those silly folks.
そう、するはね、さ、せいせいしようだから、しようか。しで終わんだよね。その、ボリショナルしで終わんだよね。しようだから。
They just learn that separate. So make a chart with a verb and its various conjugations. No. Make a chart with, for each ending, just for the ending. So su becomes sa, shi, su, se, so. And then you can put like naimasu, ba, etc. And then you just take then you can just plug your verb into it. So if you've got the su line, then you can just take hanasu and put it into that line. And you know exactly what to attach to it. If you were to make that chart for every single verb you learn, you're going to be there forever. Although maybe that could be helpful for some people. But anyway, yeah, so that was fun. Upgraded membership to ToKini Super Senpuki. This faster and faster. Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you very much. If you'd like Yuki to draw something for you, let us know.
Hi.
Just wondering when I should start learning N4 Japanese since I've been on kanji and vocab for a while, and the rest is I'm basically done with. So just wondering if I should be on N5 for a little while. There's no need to really like chill on N5 if you feel like you've learned a lot. You can just jump right into it, I think, because it's just going to get reinforced more and more as you go forward. So yeah. There's no reason really with language learning to like hang out on one level and like try and get it down before moving on to the next. Because everything that comes later builds on what you've already learned. So you keep getting it reinforced as you go. So there's not really any need to like hang out on that level. You can just keep going. At least in my opinion. Because a Japanese customer of mine told me I can be done with it already. Yeah, for sure. The Japanese kanji, I mean, you'll never be done with it because it's so basic. Not so basic, but it's like so foundational that you're going to use it all the time forever. So like you can stop focusing on that and move on to other things, I think is what they mean. Because you're going to use it. You're going to need it all for the later things. So that will help reinforce it, which is why it's not really necessary to like just do that. The Japanese conjugation page on Wikipedia has a comprehensive chart of conjugations. It looks huge, but it's got every single one of the endings. Nice. All right.
Hi.
なんかありましたか? Someone's laughing. So,
大丈夫.
Yeah. So, like we were thinking about playing a little bit of koe today, but it's already 12, which means for a lot of you guys, it's really late at night. So I don't think we've already like 30 or so people have already gone to bed. So I don't think we're going to play a game today. I think we're going to call it in a few minutes. So if anyone has any last questions they'd like to get in, it's 6 a.m. here. Wow. I shouldn't say anything because I can only read the chat. I'm on the phone with tech support at a bank. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, so if anyone has any last questions, let us know. Love the stream. First time here. This is Melos. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you for another awesome stream. Says Ronzi. Yeah, today was a different one. We just hung out for 2 hours.
Hi.
The chill section keeps getting longer and longer and longer and longer. That's okay. Yeah. So we were obviously this stream was initially to go along with the kanji lessons. So we would do this stream every Thursday, and then after the kanji videos, then we'd go through it together and learn some extra stuff. And now that we're reworking the kanji reading part of the series, we just have this sort of like purgatory, not purgatory, like this empty zone of live streams. But it's been fun. It's been fun to just hang out. So I hope you guys have been enjoying it as well. Maybe we'll play a game or something next week as well, or maybe we'll just hang out until we finally get the kanji streams ready to go. When's the next kanji episode coming out? I'm not sure yet. It's going to be a little while still, because we want to make sure we get it right this time, because it's going to be the base. As I was saying, how N5 is the base for everything that comes out after it. Whatever we do in the reading series for N5 is going to be the base for all of the other levels. So I want that to be right. I know it sucks that it takes a while, especially for those of you who are actually using it right now to learn. So I am sorry about that. But we need to get it right so that we have a base, strong foundation to work from for the future series. So we're not rushing it. And we're trying to get the vocabulary part done first. That's coming first. But hopefully it's not too far. Also, I finished writing the 42-page hiragana video. So that's out of the way. Or I have to edit it a bit tomorrow. But anyway. What is a recommended game for someone in the N5 to N4 level? I've been watching Persona 4 and thought the game might be worth it. A lot of people really enjoy Persona 4. I don't think it's N5 to N4. I think it's quite difficult. But maybe something like Yokai Watch or Animal Crossing. I mean, you could certainly try Persona 4. The issue with Persona 4 is you can't really use any good like text hookers with it. So it can be hard to look stuff up while you're playing. But anyway, Andy, would you recommend learning to write kanji? Yes, I would. I feel like I can just learn the readings and then rely on predictive text to write them until I need to handwrite a birthday card. Yeah. I like people's arguments for why you shouldn't learn to write Japanese, I think completely miss the point. So you get a lot of modern Japanese teachers who are like, oh, you don't need to learn to write kanji because even Japanese people don't really write them anymore. They just usually look things up when they don't know it. So I don't know who I'm copying, who I'm imitating there. Anyway, a lot of people say that. They say because you don't really need to write much Japanese handwritten in modern Japan, it's not worth learning to write. But I think that misses the point of why it's useful to learn to write. And that is, and this has been proven in multiple, you can read multiple studies on this that have been done on Chinese students, kids who are Chinese, learning to write Chinese characters. And that is, writing things down with a pen makes it stick better. And that's it. That's the whole reason to learn to write kanji. It's not so that you can write it if for someday you have to write a birthday card or your address or something. It's not that. And people always joke about, oh, you don't need it. It's that it helps you learn it better. So I think writing it is good. Maybe in the meantime, could we do some review in the live streams to keep us alive? Yes. We could do some quizzes to interspersed in the live streams in the future for sure. I went turbo Yuki mode for the kanji. One thing I feel like every kanji series lacks is how natives write it in daily life. Yeah, we've only done that in the live stream, so it would have been good to have that in the actual videos, for sure. Maybe we'll find a way to fit that into the reading videos somehow.
私に最後のミール食べるなら何食べるかっていうやつ。
Ah, that's the 12 o'clock. That's the 12 o'clock bell. I thought someone rang the doorbell. Nani?
私のモービットブレッシングさんからの質問を答えたいと思います。
Yuki, if you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would you choose? Oh, we did a whole podcast on that. We did a whole podcast on that. I'm going to link it, but go ahead. You can answer.
私、なんて言ったっけ?
I'm not going to tell you. Go ahead. Let's see if you answer the same thing now. I remember because I just watched a part of it the other day for some reason.
カキじゃない?
Ah, that's not what you said. Okay, she said she would choose oysters. That is not what you said.
マジ? なんて言ったっけ?
The question in the podcast was slightly different. The question was, you could only eat one food for the rest of your life. That was the question. That's all you could eat. It wasn't so much.
でしょ? それ違う質問じゃん。
If you could only eat one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be?
それは豆だと答えました。
You said soybeans. Yeah.
そう。大豆。
Because you could make them into all kinds of different things. So So her whole argument, I just linked to the podcast, was that because you could make so many other cool things from it, you could make flour, you could make milk, you could make desserts, you can just eat them straight for protein. She would choose soybeans.
でもさ、今回の質問はさ、ラストサパーは何がいいかじゃない?
No. If you could only, it was the same question. If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
ラストサパーじゃないこれ。
じゃない。
ラストサパーはカキがいいなと思いましたけど、じゃあ。
Thanks, Michael.
じゃあやっぱり豆か。
そう。
豆ね、オールマイティーフードだからね。I
think I chose eggs. 42-page script. A lot of that is editing notes and titles for the sections and lots of other stuff. But yeah, 42-page script. It took a long time. It was it's about 10,000 words. This is nice. You showed up out of nowhere on my algorithm. Subbed. I will be back. Welcome, Clint. Thanks for hanging out.
あれ、ブリタに久しぶりはどこ行っちゃったんだ
9,000? That's impossible. What? It's over 9,000 words. Yeah. Bunch of deleted messages. Oh, thank you, Dan. Whatever that was. I'm going to take a look. Oh, yeah. We're not going to be doing that today. Hey, when studying, I'm never really sure when I should move to a new chapter of Genki. I find myself getting stuck for a long time, feeling like I'm not quite fluent in the chapter. Any advice? Rachel, are you a member of the website? If you are, I would suggest taking the test. And if you do okay on the test, I would just move on with it, even if you don't feel super comfortable, especially if you understand why you got it wrong. If you're not a member of the website, that's, of course, perfectly fine. But tests do really help with that. But that's okay. If you finish the chapter and you're not fluent with it, you're not going to be fluent with it, like until you get a chance to really use it and encounter it a lot. So that's perfectly fine. Like after you go through the chapter, if you have a general idea of what everything is, you can just move on. I think generally speaking, do some of the practice, etc. The golden ball, cherry flavor Pez no brainer. Pizza. What's your favorite anime? It's a hard one to answer. There's so many.
そうだよね
I liked JoJo. Obviously,
そう
JoJo's
だよね
amazing.
ジョジョもいいよね
JoJo's great.
ジョジョグレートだしグレートだし
グレートだね。
グレートだし僕とロボコもグレートですよね
Yeah. That's going to be a hard one for almost everyone, though.
サイキ系もグレー
Psyche
ト
K
だ
was
し
really good. That used to be one of the ones that I mentioned always as a favorite, Psyche K. But JoJo is really good. I enjoyed the anime for Steins Gate. But I like the game way better than the anime, but still, it wasn't bad. How far do people usually get in Genki on the site? Is there a common chapter where people stop? There is not a common chapter where people stop, surprisingly. I don't keep track of like how far people get in specifically, but over 1,000 people have made it to Genki 2. I know that. So a lot of people make it into Genki 2. I'd say a lot of people who make it into Genki 2 generally end up making it to Quartet. But if they do stop in Genki 2, it's often on like the passive and things like that. That's a hard part. But most people who don't make it through Genki 1, it's not that they stop in the middle of Genki 1, they stop right away. They buy the course and then they never come back. So that's a struggle for us. We need to figure out how to fix that. One of the ways we need to fix that is the kana video, the hiragana katakana video we're making. That's one of the big ones. One of the issues with the site is that we don't have our own method of learning hiragana and katakana, so we have to send people other places. And then whether it's just that they forget about the site after learning hiragana and katakana or they stop, I don't know. But most people, I think, on every course they ever buy on the internet, they purchase it and then they never come back. So that's where most people stop. Not most people, but most people who do stop, that's where they stop on the kana section. So having our own video for hiragana katakana will improve that, I think. But yeah, there's no specific place, I think, within Genki on the website that people stop. Because I think the place that most people stop at Genki is lesson 3. But we teach lesson 3 really well. So if I do say so myself. So most people get past lesson 3. At least. But that's where most people quit Genki, is lesson 3. And that's why we started teaching Genki, because someone mentioned lesson 3 to me, and I went back and looked at it, and I was like, well, this is terrible. This is the worst explanation of conjugation I've ever read in my life. Because I didn't use Genki. I just used a dictionary, a grammar dictionary, to learn Japanese. I didn't start Genki until lesson 19 of Genki, because my old teacher was like, you probably need a few more foundational things, because you skip textbooks. So we should go back so you can get that foundation. So I think I started in lesson 19. Yeah. Most people stop at lesson 3. Most people on the website, I'm not sure. People who get past the beginning keep going, usually.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of whether they come back after purchasing.
そうだからワードデックはちょっと押し気味だよね。申し訳ないです。申し訳ないです。はい、頑張ります。
I get to lesson 20ish and then I feel like I've forgotten some of the fundamentals, so I'll go back to lesson 6. If you get to lesson 20, I feel like a better idea than going back to lesson 6 is picking up something easy to read. Not easy, but like a book aimed at elementary school students or something, and actually starting to like try and encounter it in real life, in like real content, because you've seen enough to where if you start seeing the te form, for example, in real life, you're going to remember it better than going back to study the te form again. So I think if you get that far, instead of going back to lesson 6, spend some more time with real Japanese, and that'll be better for you. Should I expect to feel super slow at first? Yes. Like I know kana, I memorized the vocab, grammar rules I learned, but reading kana is slow. When listening, I have to play it back in my head and translate it. Yeah. I mean, expecting to go fast, if you could go fast right in the beginning, that would be way weirder. That would be like, you're a savant, if that were the case. Nobody goes fast in the beginning. It takes, you can watch my video.
最初のアンディのやつ?
No, not that. The video where I do the what was that? The DS challenge where I played Nintendo DS all day, every day for a month. And I released that video August 11th, 2022. So almost 2 years ago. And I hadn't... I'm not popping it up yet. Yeah. So here's that video.
I wanted to see if I could level up my Japanese ability, specifically my reading and vocabulary, using only the Nintendo 3DS.
So that's the video. You'll see in that video that was just 2 years ago, right? But I hadn't done much, like spent a whole lot of time reading Japanese up until that point. I spoke Japanese all day, every day for years, for like 8-9 years. So I could speak Japanese perfectly fine. But I hadn't read a lot. So my vocabulary, my reading vocabulary was low. So even in the beginning of this, after I'd spoken Japanese for 9 years, it took me a long time to read. But I did this challenge, then I read manga all day, every day for a month, and then I read visual novels on the computer all day, every day for a month. And I think I tripled my speed. And I didn't try. I just read a lot. So long story short of that is that to get faster at reading, you just have to read a lot. And in the beginning, you're really slow. Everyone is. So the chances that you'll ever be able to read at the same speed in Japanese that you can in English is very low. Very unlikely that you'll ever get to that speed. But you'll get to a comfortable enough speed. You just have to read a lot. Pokemon taught me to read English, and I can read English very, very fast now. Doing the same with Japanese, can't even keep up with the slowest text setting. Yep. Which grammar dictionaries would you recommend? I used the, there's only one that I know of. This one. Really just this yellow one. A Dictionary of Basic Japanese Grammar. Pop that there. This was good. I wouldn't bother with the red one, the advanced one. The blue one is okay. The red one is probably not necessary. I don't think I've ever really used this one. Even well, when teaching, yeah, I've pulled up some stuff, but there's not a whole lot you need in this for like conversation. Most of this is literary grammar when you get to advanced stuff. Most of the things you need are covered in these two, at least for conversation and most like modern day reading. But also you don't really need them. Short answer there. We were supposed to go, but kept getting questions. So that's cool. Don't crush my dreams, Andy. And now this is Kiki's delivery service.
Kiki's delivery service も面白いですよね。映画しか見たことないけど、ストーリー面白いんでしょ?
Which one?
Kiki's delivery service.
Oh, let's pop this back up. Kiki's delivery service. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I liked the book, but it was hard. It was harder than I thought. I used to recommend that to beginners, and then I went back and read it again. And I was like, oh, this is way harder than I remembered. So probably not a good beginner book, but I enjoyed the book. Better book for beginners is like I don't have. For example, the one about the Fushigi Dagashiya-san or something.
Soだね.
That's a good one. There's a couple books. I have to make a list of good beginner books. Some people say you should just read it quickly anyway, skipping over stuff you don't know, but I can't even, no. That's silly. Gotcha, Edu. Thanks. I also bought the yellow book and I have yet to use it. I should take a look at it again. It's quite good, but not necessary. There's a DS Japanese dictionary I used to use. Love it. Oh, nice. All right. Let's see. I think that's everything. How do you retain grammar lessons in your head? I always forget. I don't really retain them in my head. I just try to use them. That's the only way. Trying to use them is the only way they really stick for me, or encountering them in real life.
もう最近は私それで直してあげるからいいかもしれないですけど、直してくれる人いないと
So you need someone to fix
難し
you.
い。
Shimegami Tensei's Japanese actually wasn't that difficult. I played I mean, granted, I only played the first couple hours, like 5 hours or so on DS. One of the ones on DS. I think it was 4. Maybe it was 4. I can't remember. But the Japanese itself wasn't actually as hard as I expected. It was the game that was hard. The game was really hard. Nice, Brittany. Yeah, Flying Witches is easy enough. Yeah, that's what we did in the book club. And for an actual novel, I find that, and Brian from Satori Reader agrees with this. Satori Reader is another great thing to start reading if you're not quite at ready for native stuff. That can get you really prepared. So I always recommend Satori Reader. Love those guys.
でもさ、
Novels.
リーダーもさ、一応日本人が書いてるんですか
Yeah,
ら。
Japanese person is writing them. They just get edited
そう
down.
そう。
This book, 不思議駄菓子屋さん。不思議駄菓子屋さん。This is quite readable. Not necessarily for complete beginners. Zenitendo, yeah. But it's got, you can maybe see there's a lot of there's furigana and everything, and it's quite simple. Not on everything, but everything past, I think, level 1. So everything, no, maybe level 2, grade 2. So maybe grade 2 kanji don't have furigana, like aruku. But most of them do. So 一人の小男が歩いていた。とても奇妙な男だった。黒い羽を縫い付けたマントを頭からすっぽりとかぶり、両手に大きな荷物を抱えている。Most of you probably have no idea what I just read, which is fine. But as far as novels go aimed at natives, it's one of the much, much easier ones that I've ever read. Granted, I only read the first one. This is the second one, so the second one might be a little bit harder. But these are very popular, and I find novels easier to read than manga. What, you may say? There's pictures in manga. Yes, but the Japanese is much more colloquial, and there's a lot more, there's a lot more slang, and a lot more grammar that gets shortened or cut, whereas in writing, they write in proper Japanese. So everything is written out. There's nothing is really short, except for maybe in a dialogue section. So I do find books easier to read than manga.
やっぱり私、小熊のケーキ屋さんめっちゃいいと思うんですよ。
She really likes Koguma no Keiki-san. I didn't think it was that easy, to be honest, but that's downstairs.
でも、ウェブサイトフリーだから。
Okay. Koguma no Keiki屋さん。
そう、小熊のケーキ屋さんは、その小熊がケーキ屋さんをやってんですけど、全部話し方がね、それの1話からだから。
This is the site she's talking about. She thinks that this is we own the manga as well, but it's free to view on the internet.
そうで全部ね話し方がとってもポライトだから。
He speaks very politely.
そうだからほとんどがマスフォームとかですなんですよ。これとかね。
It's mostly mas form. So.
ほら。
すみません。ショートケーキとチョコケーキをください。はい。20円ですか？安すぎるよ。じゃあ、30円ですか？一つ300円くらいで売っていいと思うよ。銀のお金こんなにくれるんですか？次は500円玉を見せてあげようと思った。Yeah, so it's very, very simple Japanese. Oh, you probably can't see down to the bottom. Sorry.
そっか。
We could use this one. Now you can see yourselves over here.
そう
Anyway,
そうマスフォームが出てきてなんていうの比較的簡単に読めるようになってるんだけど、一応ねバーブのカンジュゲーションはそのポテンシャルとコンディショナルとボリショナルとコーゼティブも出ちゃうから、
right. You'd still need to be
そうそう
finished with like Genki 2 to
そう
understand
元気中
everything.
なんだけど、でもそれでも割とできる、なんか読めるところが多い。
But even if you're only on Genki 1, there's still probably quite a few places that you could parts that you could understand fine. So she recommends this one, which for beginners, I'll pop the link there. Top tier voice acting. Yeah. Satori Reader is so good after Genki 2. I agree that Satori is probably the best place to go after Genki 2. In fact, I plan on adding that as a recommendation on our site eventually as a place to go. Live Faster, Shred Faster. I was paying for Satori Reader months ago, way before I was ready to be reading, so I canceled it. I should probably check it out again now that I'm a bit better. Yeah, it's best for if you're finished with Genki 2, I think. Like it's definitely not like day one. Definitely not day one. But at least Genki 1 or 2 finished, you can learn a lot from it. Do you know the difference between a crow and a raven? They have feathers called pinions, and a raven has one more than a crow. So the only difference is a matter of pinion. Very nice. One of the hardest parts in Kiki is the lack of kanji. A lot of words are all in hiragana, which makes it very... So, Nimitsu the Fish, I don't know which version you purchased, but that is only true for one of the versions. One of the versions has more kanji than the others. So whatever version you got probably is the one with less kanji. And then there's another version that has more kanji, and that one's much easier to read as far as kanji goes. But then there's a lot of vocabulary that is harder than I expected. But yeah, try maybe... I mean, you'd have to buy another copy, but maybe check out the other version and see if that's easier. Yeah. Does Japanese have big thesaurus? Sorry for saying... No worries. Yes.
Thesaurus って何ですか?
Like this word, what's another word that means the same thing? So it's like a dictionary, but you have a word and then you have other words that mean the same thing in it.
はいはいはいはい。
There are books like that. Huh?
類語ってやつかな。
Ruigo. It's called Ruigo. Yeah, that could... Ruigo.
ちょっと類語がテソラスかどうか知らない。
I'm pretty sure it is. Well, it's not thesaurus, but it's words that mean the same thing as others. Oh yeah, it is thesaurus. Synonyms. Thesaurus is a Ruigo jiten. Ruigo jiten. That's a thesaurus for you. That's the name of it. But there is that does exist. All right, guys. So we're finally getting haircuts this afternoon. Finally.
はい。
It's been a long time. Look at this
私も
mess.
髪の毛短くなるよ。
My goodness. It's gotten very long.
前さ、このさ、ヘアスタイルでさ、
Yeah,
ビ
people
デオ出
used
し
to
たら
joke
さ、
about
ど
my
うし
video. They're like, "What happened to your hair?" It was my first video in like months. So then I popped up with this. You guys have seen this growing over months because I haven't cut it over months in the live stream, so you don't think anything about it. But people who it went from like a Genki video to like this. Like, who are you? So we're finally getting our haircut today, which means we have to get going so that we can have some lunch.
はい。
Yeah, we didn't just chilled today. That was awesome. 2 hours, 20 minutes. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you learned a little something. Hope I was able to answer most of your questions. I was going to say that Yuki's hair is so much longer from the last time I was able to join live. Yeah, it's getting quite long.
そう。もうね、どのぐらい短くしようかな、この。
We actually filmed the video when she donated her hair because she grew it down to here once. It was the longest she'd ever grown in her life, and she donated. We filmed the video of donating it, and then this is like 2 years ago, and we never edited it.
私
So you did a cut.
edited
You
した
did
よ。
half of it, and then I never
そう
went back to do the checks. Maybe we'll throw that together.
なぜかね、なぜなんでしょうか。
We were too busy finishing the Patreon videos or the website videos. I think we were in quartet then.
そっかも。
So we had to. We were so busy with that. We didn't have time to do other videos. That always happens to us.
ね、またドネーションしてもいいんですけど、ちょっと暑いしとか暑いしとか。
Yuki had a long hair in one of the old Q&A videos. Yeah, it was around that time.
そう。あ
Thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out.
りがとうございます。今回はただカットとか。
Yeah, that's a feature in the Kindle as well, Nimitsu the Fish, but it's not very good. It doesn't do well with the verbs that are conjugated. But it's fine for nouns. The haircut video had a 60-page script. No, there was no script for that one. It was just shot on an iPhone.
それ何言うんだよ。それ何言うの。こちら側のこの毛をシェーブしてみたいな感じ。
So he's just joking because of the hiragana script. I'll show you the hiragana script and why it's so long. What's going on, Google? Is Google down? Well, that would make sense because then you guys wouldn't be able to see us. But now my Google Docs is like, no, you can't show them. Let's see. Okay. So here we go.
あれをスポイラーするんですね。
So
シャーシャー。
So there's see this perp pink? These are instructions to Dan on how I'd like him to edit certain things. So like the intro is like this long. It's like all these words. But half pink is for me. Yes. But half of that is what is that? It's 400 words, but half or more of that is just instructions. And then here's and we're teaching the hiragana and the katakana together. And then more editing instructions. And in the first section, I'm telling you how we're gonna approach all the later kana. And then these are like instructions on what I have to film for myself, like little skits. And then we have little bits about the history, which aren't going to be very long, generally speaking. But then I have a story to memorize each thing. I have some notes on what you need to keep in mind when writing for certain ones that are difficult. And then all these titles and stuff take up a lot. So that's it's 43 pages now. That's nice.
That's nice.
Going. And then I've gone ahead and I've and then we've got the last part. And then I've gone ahead and I've drawn images to help memorize, kind of like from the kanji series, for every single one of these.
So これも全部サーバーも丸見えてるんですね。
No, they can't see it right now. It's over here on the right. Oh yeah, so I've got, you can't, on Windows you can't actually see images of Photoshop. On Mac you can.
あ、そうか。
That stinks. Maybe you can if you make a medium. No, you can't actually see the images. But these are all the images that I've drawn. And then Yuki is editing them so that they look so that they look nicer because I'm really bad at drawing. I have a nice sense, but I'm not. She's like, oh, I've got so much to draw. So yeah, that's a long script.
でもそれをやりながら私はね、
While doing that,
ワードリスト作っているわけですね。
She's also working on the word list for the vocabulary. So lots going on. What? My Kindle doesn't have clickable. Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. Unless it's a very, very, very old Kindle. Every Kindle has clickable Japanese words. I think you just have to download a Japanese dictionary on it. And then you should be able to touch them. You just long hold on them, and then it'll pop up a dictionary. And then you can choose whether you want a Japanese dictionary or an English to Japanese dictionary. It's not very good. But it works for at least nouns. Wow, Danny has a lot of notes for you. It's only in the first part, though, but later part doesn't have so many notes. The notes help so much, said Dan. She's also writing a long transcript for another video. I really hope we get a bowling poo. We do. We absolutely get a bowling poo. Who did you donate your hair to? A bald oji-san?
そうだね。
so we don't know.
ボードおじさんめっちゃクールになっちゃうからそれ。
That'd be a cool oji-san. A vocabulary video. That's what I need. Yeah, vocabulary videos are weird. I think for the kanji series, the vocabulary video will be helpful, but like just a general vocabulary video, I'm skeptical on how useful that would be. But I do want to approach, if we ever make a textbook, something like that. I want to approach it in a way where like you learn a bunch of vocabulary and there's a bunch about the vocabulary, and then you learn grammar that you can put it together in. And instead of like, here's a bunch of words, memorize those, and then here's what the grammar is, and then here's some exercises. I want it to be like more flowing. And this Anki deck that we've worked on has sort of given me sort of the template of what I want for a textbook that we're going to make. So it's been fun. Anyway, yeah, lots going on. So much going on. So much.
でその後ついにお待たせしている
And then finally we can finish up the reading series.
そうそう、reading でその後 N4 の、ね、
And then we can finally get on to N4, yes.
そう
Yeah.
N4 もね、
we do this to
作ってあ
ourselves.
りますんで
Yeah, we've got the N4 deck data ready. It's just I have to finish the histories on it. We do this to ourselves. I feel like we already have like a ton of content. So it's not like there's a lack of content. It's just like we always got to make more.
はい。
I'm on iOS and I use Kindle app. My actual Kindle is very old. So I'll show you. So you cannot click on words in Kindle for manga, Brittany. There's an app that'll allow you to do that, but you can't do that with Kindle books. and you have to have like digital copies that you can import. But if you're reading a book on the Kindle with actual, with words, now take a look at this. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to click on a word. I long held. There's the dictionary right there. I'm using a Japanese to Japanese dictionary, but you can change that. So you just long held. Here's otoko.
それ何どうやって出てんの読みたみたいなやつ
No, it's just Kindle. Kindle has this built in.
すげえ
So if it's a book, you should be able to long hold on it on the app. Mangayu, it won't work. Which is your Anki deck? Which one? I have a kanji Anki deck. The vocabulary deck we're working on right now for N5. It's gonna be fire, I think, but we'll see. It's not quite done yet. All right. So I keep saying we're gonna go. I've been saying that for like 30 minutes, and we haven't gone. But thanks for hanging out. Yeah, thank you, more blessing.
だらだらしてるね本当に
Yeah, you totally can with Japanese. All right, we're gonna go eat, and yeah, have a great week, everyone.
はいみんなもね
Yeah.
お疲れ様でした
The next video is going to be Yuki destroying my kana, my hiragana. I don't know when it's going to come out. It might be next week or the following week. We'll see.
トランスクリプトも
Yuki's working on the
頑張り
transcript
ます
for
から
that because yeah, we're going to have the transcript on there for you guys for the Japanese part at least. So that's why it's going to take a long time. The edit is actually finished, but anyway, that'll be in a week or two, maybe. I assume maybe 3. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll see you in the live stream next week. Have a great time.
はいみんなありがとうございます
All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next video.
はい
はいせーの
また次のビデオで会いましょうね
はいバイバイ
バイバイ
Thank you everyone
おやすみ
おやすみ
お疲れ
お疲れ様でした